Holy Dinah, geez Louise, here is the first Crusade battle for my Cadian 555th Charlie Company. I'll walk you guys through the setup here in just a sec, but I just wanted to take a few shots of what the battle is looking like. I covered the Crusade force yesterday, but I'm also going to cover the unit Crusade cards as well, and then I'll cut to that and you guys can see how those are made. That will be populated at the end of the battle, and I'm going to use Castellan Cage as the example for that. But first we'll get to this battle scape and show you guys what's going on here. So this here is the drill site. I love this piece of terrain too. It's actually part of the Genestealer Cultist terrain, but I use it for tons of missions. Great spot for snipers, for an objective, a whole bunch of stuff, so it's cool. This is the site where they found that either ancient or brand new Tyranid life form, and they are escorting it through the roadway. So this is how I decided to line up my Cadian shock troop force for hopefully the best strategy that I can to take on any Tyranid that might be coming from the bush. So I have at the back a Hellhound, and that's going to be able to hopefully repel any Tyranid that are coming in from behind my company. In front of them is the Commissar with the Tiger squad of Kasrkin. I have my Sentinels. I have a 10-man Cadian shock troop squad led by my Preacher, Uriah Jacobus. And then on either side of that, kind of flanking the Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler truck, is two other sections of Cadian. I'm hoping that they're going to be able to hold off anything that might fly out of the bush from the sides. Up next is another 10-man section, and 10-person section, and I have a Cadian command squad with them to kind of buff them out. The next Hellhound is here, and then taking point at the very front of this convoy is Castellan Creed with a 10-man Kasrkin squad. So this is the roadway here. At each of these kind of objective markers, this is where the Tyranid are either going to ambush or the Cadian will be able to react. So as soon as the model passes that, they don't know that of course because they're just doing a convoy, but we do as the players. So when they hit that, which is going to happen pretty much first movement, there's going to be Tyranid that are going to be coming from the bush, and we'll take that on as it happens. So I've placed these just under kind of 12 inches away from each other, and that is to allow the 6 full turns. So the fastest unit there is the Torox actually, which is the stats that I decided to give the Ridge Hauler truck. So it's going to be running off of Torox stats with heavy stubbers on it, and that is a 12-inch movement. So I've had those spaced out. It doesn't look like a long way, but when Tyranid are coming from every single angle on you, I think it will turn into that. So can't wait to get this started. I'm just going to cover right now, as I was saying, the Castellan Cage Crusade unit card, and then we're going to get into this fight. And that's going to help you guys see how Cage is going to level up. At the end of the battle, I'll also do a card for each of the units to show if there's any battle scars, battle traits, battle honors. Experience is going to take a little bit to build, so I'm not going to be able to soup up weapons and stuff right away, but I'll walk you through that at the end of the battle and show you what kind of stats each of these units are getting. Alright, so here we go. So this is going to cover the Crusade unit card for Castellan Cage. So he is leading a unit, but he himself is also a unit. So he's going to be able to do certain things. And as you can see from the card, I'm going to flip over to that right now. Top left corner is Castellan Cage, so the unit name. The point value, Crusade points is going to stay empty, as that is not going to be used for my Crusade narrative play. That's if you're going to be playing with other individuals to make sure that your Crusade forces are similar. He is an HQ unit type. He has a bolt pistol currently, a power fist, invulnerable save of 5+, and he has the ability to do 1 order, and that's in his equipment box. The experience is also blank right now, as that's going to build as he moves forward through those 4 steps, and he'll be able to get perks and things as that happens. And then as he gets those enhancements and upgrades and things like that, they get added into the other empty box. Below that is the combat tallies, so that shows the battles that he has played specifically, the battles that he has survived, and then the enemy units that he has destroyed. So to be able to actually get a point in that box, you have to destroy a whole enemy unit.
So if he jumps into, you know, a 10-man Hormigaunt squad or a 20-man or 20 creature Hormigaunt squad, and he destroys them somehow, that will be one unit destroyed by him. Since he's attached to the Casterkin, as they destroy units, they're going to be getting that stat, so they'll be able to have enemy units destroyed, and Castellan Cage will as well. Below that is the Battle Honors box, which he's going to get as he moves forward throughout these campaigns. And then his Battle Scars, which I've kept those 5 requisition points right from the start of the game to make sure that if anyone does get Battle Scars this early on, I can remove them. And then there's also campaign badges too. So I'm going to be covering each unit as they move through this battle. So at the end, we're going to tally up everything. And that's kind of the trickiest part of doing this for Crusade. You really have to pay attention and remember what's been done. So I have cards for each unit, and we'll be adding all of their perks and enhancements and stats and upgrades and experience at the end of this battle, and also any battle scars if a unit has been lost, and then we'll try to remedy those if we can. But I just want to cover that really quickly because yesterday we did the Crusade Force document, and that's the unit Crusade document. So very excited to get this going. We'll get it going here in a sec. First move by the Cadian 555th Charlie Company. Alrighty, bye for now.
Holy Dinah, here we go. So this is the first move for my Cadian shock troops as they move along this convoy road. I'm glad I checked the app. So I have the Warhammer app that kind of has all the updated statistics. And my data cards are actually outdated, so I didn't have the invulnerable save for the Castellan. That does exist, so I'm glad I checked that before. You can also see that they have issued their orders, so they've got a little bit of intel. They know that Tyranid are along the road here. So the Castellan has given the Sharkgar's Casterkin squad the take aim, which is going to help them with ballistic skills, so easier to hit, which is great for Casterkin with those weapons. The command squad, so the lieutenant or captain that's in there, she has also issued the take aim order to the Cadian shock troop squad, so that's going to help them out with their firing and marksmanship. And then the last one is back here, which is my commissar. The only one that he can give pretty much for this game is fixed bayonets, so he has given that to the Casterkin Tiger squad, and that's going to help them out with their weapon skill when they get into hand-to-hand. So we're going to roll here. I'm going to move the Cadian up. I'm going to cut the camera, and then you guys will see that happen. They're going to probably get right up to that first ambush point, and then the rolling begins for the Tyranid, and we're going to see where they're coming from and also what this Cadian convoy is going to be facing in their first move, and we'll have to react super quick. I'm also going to see if they're going to be ambushed immediately from my D6 dice creation roll, or if the Cadian are going to be able to react first. So here we go, movement phase, and then we'll move on to all those dice rolls. All right, so the movement phase is done. Those Cadian are right up to the first marker there. They moved up very cautiously, 6 inches, which is their maximum movement by foot, and the ridge haul is coming in there. My 2 squads that were off to the side have kind of fallen back a little bit because there was a bit of movement there and the bush slowed them down. We have my sentinels that are in the middle. There's my Casterkin, and then the Hellhound has turned itself around in case there's any back attacks. So what we usually do here is we go into the shooting phase next, but there's nothing for these Cadian to shoot yet because the ambush hasn't happened. So I'm going to be rolling now for the Tyranid first off to see what force is coming out for them out of that 6 that I showed yesterday. If you guys want to check back, look at the video that I posted right before this one, episode 5, and that'll show you what's related to each D6 roll for the Tyranid. And what I'm going to do here, it's going to be a little different. So the Tyranid are going to come out. If the Cadian are able to react due to a roll after that, they're going to be back on the offensive, and they're going to be able to shoot, move, get into hand-to-hand. If the Tyranid are allowed to ambush, then it's going to move over to their turn, and they will be able to move and then attack. There's going to be no shooting from the Tyranid. As I've mentioned before, this is the same as the Oodabooda Planet battle, and it's just going to be hand-to-hand combat. So we're going to see how that goes, and I'm going to get over to my dice rolling tray. Also, like last time, I'm going to roll probably for the first few moves just to see how everything starts to go, and then to save a lot of cuts and editing, I'm going to roll off screen, and then I'll show you guys the results of each of those turns. But I'm super excited to see what comes out for the Tyranid and how this battle is going to go. Wish us luck. Okay, I'm in behind my Akaso now, and I was actually pretty surprised the volume's great on this thing, so I'm hoping the battery lasts a little bit longer. If not, I might hook it up to the wall so we can get all these dice rolls in. So the way this is going to work is there's going to be a wave of Tyranid coming out as per the roll of d6. After that, I'm going to roll another d6 to determine if the Tyranid get an ambush or if the Cadian get a reaction. So on an even roll of 2, 4, 6, the Tyranid are going to get that ambush, and then on an odd roll of 1, 3, 5, the Cadian kind of see the ambush coming, and they're going to be able to react right away. It's going to be huge because that is a lot of firepower, and if it's a small wave of Tyranid, it's possible the Cadian could knock them out right away and get some experience going there, because as you wipe out units, I'll show you later on the Crusade unit cards, you get points and things like that to level them up. So here's the very first roll. We're going to see what wave is coming out, and then I'll cut to what that ends up being. So it is a 6. Not the best wave for the Cadian, so that on a roll of d6, a 6 is the Swarm Lord and 10 Gene Stealers. So that's the 6 roll. I can't roll another 6, so that wave is going to stay out if they last for the entire game. This is now the scatter dice to see where that is going to come from. So it's coming from the side, and I'm going to be playing strategic for my Tyranid, so the side is going to be where that weakest area is, and it's looking like it's the Preacher with his 10-man squad. So I'm going to probably jump them right in there. And now we're going to see if it's going to be an ambush by the Tyranid, which means they're going to be able to do all their moves first, or if it's going to be a Cadian reaction and they can start shooting and picking away at the Swarm Lord and the Gene Stealer. So here we go. It is a 4. So the 4 means that that is an ambush by the Tyranid. So we're going to be moving over to the Tyranid, and it's right in the middle of my convoy, so this is going to get pretty interesting right off the bat. Here we go.
Okay, so here's the ambush that has come in from the Tyranid. So we have 10 Gene Stealer models that have just popped right out of this river area. They're coming through that clearing right towards the middle of the convoy. There's a unit here, and this dude up front on point's like, holy shit. So we're going to see what happens there. And the Gene Stealers, as you guys saw, against 3 Gravis armored Marines, were able to take out a lot of them. These Cadian are not as strong, and these guys have no buffs right now. There's no orders that have been given to them, so this might be very quick end for the squad, which would be a battle scar, but we'll see. You never know how the rolls will land. And then the Swarm Lord as well has come out right here in front of the Sentinels, and it's ready to carve into that unit here that's being led by the Preacher. I'm hoping that Preacher's going to be able to maybe fight back a bit, but again, that squad is in trouble. And let's see how it all rolls. So this is going to be the Tyranid turn 1 because it was an ambush, and they are going to be moving, and since they can't shoot, it's going to be right into hand-to-hand combat. So here we go. The battle starts off pretty damn quick, and good luck to my Cadian. Alright, so Tyranid movement phase is done after that ambush, and we are right into it. The Gene Stealers have completely jumped this 10-man Cadian, or 10-person Cadian squad. The Swarm Lord has run right into this squad too, and the Preacher's like, oh, you son of a bitch, you Emperor, help us. So they're going to be scrapping there. The Sentinels have turned, but they cannot shoot it because it's locked in. So the Swarm Lord is taking on that 10-person Cadian shock troop squad with the Preacher attached. And then these 10 Gene Stealers are taking on my Cadian. So I'm going to go and roll these, and since it was an ambush, the Gene Stealers will be attacking first. We'll see how many models they can actually kill, and then the Cadian will be able to fight back because it's just right now like a fight for life for them, and it'll be the same for the Swarm Lord. So the Swarm Lord's going to roll, see what units what Cadian he can kill, and then they're going to turn over and see if they can maybe take a couple wounds off this thing. And then this convoy is, I think, going to start moving. So those orders might change next command phase to that to get this right down the road. But very close is another ambush point. So I'm guessing these guys are probably going to be here after this turn, chasing after the convoy. And then there's going to be another group of Tyranid coming out up there. So this is going to get really crazy really quick. Tons of fun though. It's so much fun. So, all right, I'll start rolling and I'll flip over that camera. And again, I'm probably just going to do that a few times, maybe one time for the Tyranid, one time for the Cadian, then I'll roll off camera. And of course I'll roll for all of the big entry rolls and stuff like that, but we'll see how this goes. All right.
All right, so we're over to the dice tray now. This is going to be not good. So that full Genestealer 10 creature squad has 40 hand-to-hand attacks, and they hit on a 2+ at a strength 4. My Cadian have a toughness of 3 with a save of 5+, and the armor penetration of the Genestealers is -2. So the Cadian actually won't get a save if they land wounding blows. So this unit is probably done for, but let's see. If I get a whole bunch of miraculous rolls, you never know. So here's 40 dice for the Genestealers, hitting on 2+. Yeah. So it's actually a pretty good roll. There's not many ones in there at all. So of the 40, there's a couple more ones. I didn't have enough dice either. I had to grab red dice to help out. So of the 40, only 5 have missed. So that's 35 hits on 10 guys. It is a strength 4 versus a toughness 3. So this is wounding on 3s. So, and again, if there's more than 10 that happen here, those Cadian are dead because they don't get a save. So they don't have a buffer on them. They have a 5+ usual save with the -2 AP would make it a roll of 7+, which is impossible in 1d6. So here we go. So it was hitting on 3s. There's actually quite a few that didn't hit. Let's pull these out and see what we're doing after that. Yeah, I think there's enough there. Yeah, so we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 right there with all these additional hits. So that entire squad of Cadian have been wiped out. That's going to be a battle scar. I have to decide which section is which. I really hope that wasn't Sergeant Apone's squad, but it could have been because he was great during my last Crusade narratives. I'm going to remove those models and we'll get to the aftermath of that and then move over to the Swarm Lord for his attacks.
Okay, so here's the aftermath of that. That Cadian 10-person section was completely shredded. They didn't even get a chance to fight back. There's just way too many wounds, and all these Genestealers are still on the board. The Swarm Lord's going to be next. We'll see how that rolls against the Cadian as well as that Preacher. So I'm hoping the Preacher might be able to help out. I'm probably going to do Swarm Lord versus Preacher first, maybe, or maybe the squad. We'll see how I roll. And it might have been a bit confusing. Apologies for that. But the Cadian are still going to be able to to do their movement shooting. It's just that they had to react to this phase. So the Tyranid ambushed them. So during this next, like after the Tyranid phase here with the Swarm Lord, we're going to be able to move. We're going to be able to shoot. So since I want to get this thing out of here, I'm probably going to move the first whole chunk of my convoy down the road a little bit further. And then I'm going to have my remaining sections try to take some shots at those Genestealers. The nice thing is I'm hoping that we can take a few of them out with lasguns. And then we still have my Sentinels, which can maybe start to pump away at that Swarm Lord if that entire squad and Preacher are finished. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do that Cadian squad first, because then those wounds, if there's any additional, I'm thinking my Preacher's going to survive and he can maybe get attached to another unit. But yeah, so one whole section done. They're going to have battle scars at the end of this battle, and we'll see how that all plays out way down the line. But it's going to be the remaining Tyranid hand-to-hand, and then it's going to go back to my Cadian for their orders. So they're going to be able to do their command phase, they're going to be able to move, and then they're going to be able to shoot. So let's see how this goes and what that second ambush is going to be too. It's going to be super important because as they move, they're probably going to hit it. All right.
Okay, so we're back over to the dice tray, and this is going to be the Swarm Lord's attack on the Cadian shock troops. If you guys aren't aware, the Swarm Lord is like a variant of the Hive Tyrant. I don't know if I covered that last game, but it is their like hand-to-hand melee beast, so I thought it was the best fit for this game since they can't do any shooting, and we are going to get into this right away. So the Swarm Lord has Bone Sabers. It's 8 attacks, again hitting on a 2+, so the bigger Tyranid models and even Genestealers are like incredible in hand-to-hand combat. So I'm going to grab my 8 dice right now, and we're going to get rolling to see. The nice thing is it might not kill my entire section,
And with my rules, there's going to be no morale breaks, so that preacher can still lead them, and they can kind of hobble along and hopefully make it through to the end. So here we go. This is 8. This is going to be hitting on 2s. It has a twin linked ability too, which means that I can re-roll the attack wound roll. But it looks like all are through here, and then we're going to see what the wounds are. So I'll be able to re-roll here as the Stormlord has twin linked. All was hit, by the way. There wasn't anything that was a 2. And this is a strength 9 versus a toughness 3. So these are wounding on 2s. And that's all wounds through. It's a -2 AP. So again, my Cadian have a 5+ save. That makes it a 7+ save on a D6, which is impossible. They don't have any invulnerable save. They don't have any cool, attributes right now that's going to help them out. So that has killed 8 of my Cadian outright. The Cadian are going to be able to fight back though. So I'm going to do that right now. So there's 2 Cadian remaining. And my sergeant in this squad has the drum-fed auto gun. So he does not have a chainsword, which would give him more attacks. So this is literally 2 attacks of 4+ with close combat weapon. So here we go. And neither of them did anything. So they either dropped their knife or they just tried to stab at it and they missed. The Stormlord was pretty quick and dodged it. So that is the end of that. My preacher now, however, can fight back. So I'm going to try to get him since he's attached to that squad. I don't know if that's a real rule in Warhammer. They're attached to that squad, so I think they should be able to fight. But I'm doing it for this battle. I don't care. They need some kind of hope. So Regimental Preacher, there he is. And his melee weapon for Uriah Jacobus is just a power weapon. So he's got something hidden under his cloak there. 3 attacks, strength 4. So let's see how he does. It's going to be 4+ here to hit. And he got 1 hit in on the Swarmlord. He is a strength 4 with that. So that's against a strength 9. I need a 6 here to be able to wound. And he got a 3. So Uriah Jacobus tried to stab at it with a power knife or something, and it didn't work. It shorted out. So I'm going to do the aftermath for that now, and I'm going to move it back over to my Cadian after, and we'll get rolling for them and deciding if they're going to move, shoot, what they're going to do. All right. Just took some time there to update my Crusade cards. It's super important to do that because if you start forgetting what's happened, you're going to have a hard time trying to get everything written down. So I just marked down that one of the section was going to have to get a battle scar because they were wiped out by the Gene Stealers. These guys are very close to being wiped out, but I have my Sergeant remaining with that drum-fed auto gun. I have my plasma gun, and then Preacher Uriah Jacobus staring down that Swarmlord. We're going to move over to my Cadian turn. I'm going to do the movement, and we'll get right back to that on camera after that's completed. I'm going to have to see what strategy I'm using here because that was a pretty big blow, and the Tyranid came right into the middle of the convoy. And I just want to keep things in range if I need to shoot at some stuff. So I'm going to do some strategizing, and then I'm going to do some movement, and I'll start the camera back up to show you what the Cadian have done with their movement phase, and then we'll move on to shooting. And I don't think they're going to be getting into hand-to-hand unless it's maybe the Sentinels with those big chain swords on them. But Tyranid are super vicious in hand-to-hand, so I'm going to try to keep my guys as far away as I can from that. But we'll see what we do. So I'll come back in just a sec and show you what I've done with the movement. All right. We are back. Just a little bit further to get to that facility, right? They can do it. I don't know. We're going to have to see. So I've split my convoy up. It might turn out to be a terrible strategy, but I needed to get this thing moving. The Khazarkin Sharkar's own have met the second ambush site, but that's not going to happen until the end of this Cadian turn. So the Ridge Hauler is right beside the Hellhound now. It went off road and jumped back on the road. I have my 10 section of Cadian here with the command squad. They did the move rules. So from 6 inches, they were able to get 3 additional inches. These guys did as well. So that was a total of 9 inches. So they were able to move. I gave Torok's stats to this thing, so it's able to move 12 inches. So it's going to be pretty quick. It's kind of souped up. And then down here, they've decided to turn and fight. So The squad that was decimated, Sergeant Dakota's section with the preacher, is 3 left, and they've turned to start picking away at these gene stealers. The other 10 person Cadian shock troop squad is going to do the same. And then I have all of the Kazarkan Tigers with the Sentinels, the Commissar, and the Hellhound all going to let loose on this Swarm Lord to hopefully take it out, because if that gets into hand-to-hand, even with the Kazarkan, I don't think it's going to be good. But I kept the fixed bayonets order, as that's one of the only ones the Commissar can do. So they are going to get a little bit better ballistic skill if it does decide to jump into hand-to-hand against them. So I'm going to start to roll all the shoots. I think I'll probably do the Gene Stealers first, and then I'll move over to the Swarm Lord, and we're going to see how much damage this thing can take. After that, it's going to move back over to the Tyranid. We're going to see what wave is coming out, what direction they're coming from, and then I'm going to have to alter my strategy again. These guys have also fallen behind by doing this, so you know the whole half of the convoy is at the back now, and it's going to take them a while to catch up as these guys continue to move down the road. So we'll see if the strategy pays off. All right, on to rolling. Okay, so on to the Cadian rolls. I'm going to start with the Regimental Preacher. You got to love this guy's weapon loadout. The range weapons are autogun, a holy pistol, but it's got the same stats as like a regular pistol. It's hilarious. And then the Preacher shotgun. So I'm going to start blasting away at the Gene Stealers with the Preacher shotgun. He has 2 attacks. It is hitting on a 4+. So let's see if he can get a 4. He did not. He got a 3 and a 1. So the Preacher's shotgun is old and rusted, and it may have, like, you know, blown out the barrel or something. So now I'm going to move over to my Cadian shock troops, and we're going to see how the remainder of those 2 in that squad can do, as well as the additional 10 person section. So get that in just a sec. Okay, so next up is Sergeant Dakota. He has his drum-fed autogun. It's not a strong weapon, but it's so cool. It gets like 2 attacks. I don't know, I just like it. So I have a couple of my sergeants with that, and if I start to do more loadouts of sergeants for units, I might bring some more in, and maybe the guys that I'm making behind me, I'll have a couple of drum-fed autoguns too. We'll have to see. So again, here it's a 4+. They have no buffer to help them out, so he's hitting on a 4+, and he hit twice. There you go. There's that Cadian marksmanship that we were looking for. So this is a strength 3 weapon, not very good against a toughness 4 Gene Stealer, so it's going to have to wound on a 5. And he did get 1 wound through, so we got a 6. The Gene Stealer is going to make a regular save. There's no armor penetration for the autogun, and it has a 5+ save. So here we go. Let's see if he can take a wound off one of these. They also have 2 wounds. So these things are like hand-to-hand beasts, and then they have 2 wounds. They've got a pretty good armor save and vulnerable save of 5+. So having them out this early, like, woof, they're going to be chasing, and they're fast too. They can move 8 inches, so they're going to catch up to any of the human models. But here we go. Let's see if he can save it. 5+. The Gene Stealer did not. So one of them is down to 1 wound. And next roll is going to be my plasma gun. So I'll make sure that I remember. I'm going to just move a little wound marker over here so I can remember that that happened. So I'm not going to supercharge my plasma guns yet, but this thing has a strength 7, and I wanted to keep it around because my other weapon was a grenade launcher. So here we go. We're going to be hitting on a 4+. So it was a 2. So nothing happened, and my strength 7 plasma gun has not done anything. I'm going to start rolling for that 10-person section, and they've got a couple different special weapons too, and another drum-fed auto guns. We'll see how that does against the Gene Stealers, and I'm going to give this 1 wound to one of the Gene Stealers there, and hopefully at least they can take 1 out this turn. If they can take it a few, it would be amazing. Okay, so I'm moving over to the 10-person Cadian shock troop section. I'm going to go through the special weapons first. So in this section we have a flamer, we have the drum-fed autogun from the sergeant, and we also have a grenade launcher. So I'm going to do the grenade launcher first. I'm going to be using frag grenade. So it's a D3 attack. So we're going to see this like it's cut in half. If it's a 6, it's a 3. If it's a 5, it's a 3. I think if it's a 4, it's a 2, etc. So I got a 3. So that's going to be 2 attacks. And those are hitting on a 4+. So I got 1 through. It's a strength 4 attack versus toughness 4. So I need a 4 to wound. I got a 6. That's pretty good.
and it has no armor penetration, so the Gene Stealer is going to be saving on a 5+. If it does not save here, then there's one Gene Stealer that's being removed from this battle. So here we go. It rolled a 4. So that grenade launcher did its job. I'm going to make sure I take one of those Gene Stealers off the board. Next up is that drum-fed auto gun that I told you guys I love. So we're going to roll for that. It's 4+ again. So this time it jammed up. Nothing came out. I had a 3 and a 2. And now we're going to move over to the Flamer, which is great against Hormagaunts. It might be okay against Gene Stealers because it can douse a lot of guys if you can get them. And I'm rolling a d6 first to see how many attacks it is, and it hits automatically because it's a torrent and ignores cover weapon. So it's a full 6. That's great. So there's no AP, but it hits automatically, so the Gene Stealers have to make 6 saves because they're all lit up and covered in fire, so that doesn't matter. And if we get a few here that don't make 5s, there could be a few other dead Gene Stealers in this turn from that section, so that's really good. Wow, not a good roll from the Gene Stealers. So this is better than my last game. If you guys remember, my Crimson Fists were rolling like garbage, and looks like the Tyranid are this time. So there was one that was saved, but that's 1 dead Tyranid, 2 dead Tyranid, 1 with a wound that's been removed, and then we have the other dead Tyranid. So that's 3 dead Tyranids from this turn, and then 1 with 1 wound. So I'm going to remove those 3 models, and we're going to move over to some other rolls for the Khazarkan and the Sentinels, as well as my Hellhound versus the Swarm Lord. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my Sentinels for this one. They are able to shoot because they're not going to be blasting any of the Khazarkan in front of them because they're a bit higher. So I'm going to start with my Plasma Cannon, and it is a 4+. It has no buffs, so I'm pretty sure in 9th edition this is a 3+, because they have like targeting systems and stuff, even though they're Cadian. Like if you're in a machine, it helps you out with your aim, so kind of sucks that it's a 4+ now, but that's what we got. So we're going to see first off how many attacks we're going to get from a d3. So that's again splitting a d6 in half. So if I roll a 6, it's a 3, and so on. So I rolled a 3. It's going to be 2 attacks, and we need 4+ here to actually hit because the ballistic skill is 4+ for the Sentinel. And it, oh my gosh, it didn't fire. So that's not good because the Plasma Cannon has a strength 7, and it would have hopefully done a little something to the Swarm Lord because it has a toughness of 10. So I don't really have too many other weapons, but we're going to try. I'm going to move over to my Hellhound and see if I can get that Melta Cannon to work. This really sucked. I know they're cheap models. I like them a lot, but it used to have a 3+ for sure because there was a turret rule with the Astra Militarum before. That no longer exists, so it's now a 4+ as well. So I'm definitely within half range, so I'm going to get a Melt of 4, which is incredible. So each time an attack made with such a weapon targets a unit within half that weapon's range, which is the case here, that attack's damage characteristic is increased by the amount denoted by X. So that's going to be damage 4 plus its usual d6. So if I can land some attacks here, it's going to be, or some shots, it's going to be great. So again, it's a d3. Here we go. I got a 1. Oh no, and it's a 4+ to hit, so let's see what we can do. Oh, thank God. I rolled a 6. Whew, so it fired, and it is a strength 9 versus a 10, so that's going to be 1 shot through, and we are going to be rolling a 4+. No, it's actually a 5+ because his toughness is higher, so to wound, I need to roll a 5. And I did. That is incredible. Okay. That's really good. So there has been 1 shot from my Melta Cannon on the Swarm Lord. The Melta Cannon has the ability to actually probably kill it 1 shot, but we're going to see what the Swarm Lord does because it does have that invulnerable 4+ save. So we're going to do 4+ and hope that it rolls lower than a 4. It rolled a 3. That's amazing. So what happens here, it's AP -4, but that doesn't, it's not regarded because of the invulnerable save. But since I'm within that short, and this is where I was messing up last time with my roll, so now since it didn't save, it's been wounded, and you have to see how much damage that wound does. So the damage for this weapon is a d6. So if I roll a 6 here, we're going to be adding that melt of 4, which is 10 damage. And I believe that's going to take the Swarmlord out. But let's see what happens. I rolled a 6. Wow. So from that, it was wounded. It was not able to save. There's a 6d6 roll plus the melt of 4, because the melt of cannon, if in half range of the enemy, gets that added. So that's 10 wounds. And let me just go over here. The Swarmlord has 10 wounds, so it has actually been slain from the board, which is incredible. So that was a big model I was worried about. I'm going to move over to my other camera and show you the aftermath of that. There's still the Gene Stealers to deal with, but at least the Swarmlord has been killed, and I can actually use that Khazarkan squad now probably to start picking away at the Gene Stealers. So this is a good case scenario. All right, I'm going to switch over to that camera, and then I'll be back to the rolling table in just a sec.
Absolutely fantastic first kind of shooting piece there from the Cadian. They were able to take out the Swarmlord. As I've always said, there's always all-stars that appear in your battles, and this Hellhound is definitely an all-star right now, and it's not the first time. As I've said previous, they're a really good little tank for a very cheap amount, and that Melta-Cannon, if it hits, is devastating. So that Swarmlord has been killed, and I still have my entire 10 person section of Khazarkan that's going to be able to shoot at these Gene Stealers, because I was going to be using them to try to take out that Swarmlord. I don't have to anymore. I also have my Sentinel back here with the Malleus grenade launcher. Oh yeah, I also wanted to say I finally found out the name of these. It's the Hot Shot Volley Gun. So yesterday I was calling it like the Ballistus or something. That's wrong. It's the Hot Shot Volley Gun. And there's one of them in this unit that's going to be used right now to try to wean down these Gene Stealers. But great job on my Hellhound. I have to go over and update its unit Crusade card because I will totally forget. So it has wiped out a unit itself. And we're going to see how that plays out at the end of the battle if these guys make it through in regards to getting some maybe souped up attributes, armor, honors, whatever else for that Hellhound, because it killed one of the big models that I was worried about. There's still a lot of convoy left though. That road is going. There's tons more ambush points, and there's a lot more Tyranid models. So I'm going to finish off this shooting phase, see how that goes with the Gene Stealers, and then we're going to move it back to our dice roll to see if the Cadian can react or if the Tyranid are going to ambush again. And yeah, good luck, shock troops. Here we go.
Okay, so now time for my Khazarkan to start shooting. I'm going to be using my Sergeant first, who has a hotshot las pistol. So one thing about the Khazarkan, you kind of have to go back and forth because there's so many different weapon systems in their group, but we'll see if we can start chipping away at some of these Gene Stealers and maybe wipe out that entire force of them that's on the board still. So hotshot las pistol is hitting on a 3+, and that is due to the Khazarkan's amazing marksmanship. So usual Imperial Guard are 4+, and these guys actually have the same ballistic skill as a Space Marine. So they've been super well trained in marksmanship, and I'm hoping to get a shot off here. So it's a 4. That's great. My Khazarkan has shot. To wound, it is a strength 3 pistol, so not great, versus a toughness of 4, so I need a 5 to wound. I got a 5, so that's pretty sweet. And we're going to be saving the armor penetration 2 on the hotshot las gun is a minus, or hotshot las pistol is a -1. But these Gene Stealers have a 5+ invulnerable, so it's going to be a 5+ save. And here we go. If it doesn't roll a 5, that model with the 1 wound left is dead. It rolled a 4, so that Gene Stealer model is dead. Be right back. Okay, so I just removed that Gene Stealer model from the board, and I also updated my Hellhound's Crusade unit card, because if you forget that, as I said, you're going to forget. So now we're going to move on to the remaining weapons in the Khazarkan squad here. So I'm going to move over to the plasma gun. That's going to be great if I can have it shoot. So I'm not doing supercharged yet. Don't want anyone to get hurt. So this is going to be a 3+ again, and it's a strength 7 weapon. So let's see if we can hit. I rolled a 6, so that's great. At strength 7, the toughness of the Gene Stealers is 4, so I'm wounding on a 3. That's a 4, so that's a wound. And the Gene Stealer, the plasma gun usually does a -2 AP, but it has that 5+ invulnerable. So we're going to roll, and it did not save it. The standard plasma gun is 1 damage, so there's going to be 1 wound again taken off of a Gene Stealer. I'm going to put that down, and then we're going to move on to the other weapons in the Casterkin squad. These guys are outfitted with some pretty sweet weapons. So next up I have the Melt-A-Gun, which is another high strength weapon, and these Casterkin, I hope they keep surviving, because if they can, you know, take out Hormagaunts and Gene Stealers like this, even the Swarm Lord they probably could have maybe shed a couple wounds off of. So here we go. Melt-A-Gun is a 3+ as well to hit. That's a 1 this time. So it jammed, or the weapon was too hot to fire or something, so my guy was not able to fire it. I do have a grenade launcher, and I'm going to fire another frag in there, just because you want to use crack grenades if it's like a hero enemy that has high, toughness. Gene Stealer's toughness 4, so not great. They're average, they're the same as a Space Marine. So I'm going to be rolling here for frag grenade to see how many attacks we're going to get. So it's a D3, and we got a 6, so that's 3 attacks that's coming from it. To be able to hit, we're rolling a 3+. So 2 hit, 1 did not, and we're going to see if it wounds now. So that is a strength 4 versus toughness 4, so I need 4s to wound, and neither of them wounded. So the grenade just kind of bounced off the Gene Stealer and exploded somewhere in the bush. So that's it for my grenade launcher. I also have a hot shot volley gun, which is the weapon I couldn't remember. It's actually pretty good. So it's got 2 attacks. It's hitting on a 3+ again because it's Casterkin, and it's a strength 4 with a -1 AP. So we're going to do our roll. Both have fired, and now I need 4s to be able to wound, and there's 2 wounds there. So it's a -1 AP. That Gene Stealer has the 5+. So we're going to make the saves here. And it saved 1, the other one is gone. So that means that there's another Gene Stealer that has been removed from the battle.
Okay, so turn 1 is done for my Cadian shock troops. The 555th Charlie Company did a pretty good round. They didn't face too many Tyranid model there though, so if there's more coming out, I'm going to have to probably change up my strategy, but it worked out well. I thought having the Tyranid attack the middle where it was weak would really break the back of my Cadian, but they seemed to be holding it together. Didn't lose too many people. It did lose, 18 men, but the Cadian are considered meat shields for their tanks, so that's kind of what's supposed to happen. So the Swarm Lord was wiped out by my Hellhound, who has a point now for taking out an enemy unit. And then there's still 4 Gene Stealers left. So whoever takes that out next turn, if they do, is going to get another point regarding taking out an enemy unit. My Sentinels, not great. This one here with the grenade launcher did okay, but the heavy plasma didn't even fire. And then my Casterkin were fantastic with that +3 ballistic skill, firing with all those different special weapons. They're really able to thin out the Gene Stealers. Big thing is I'm going to have to leave someone back here in the convoy to take care of these, because they're going to be coming up from the rear no matter what, because they're going to stay on the board during the second wave. So I'm going to move now to the dice rolling tray again and see what's going to be coming out from the second ambush point that the Casterkin have hit. And I am going to see if that's going to be, well, what wave of Tyranid that is, and then also if they're going to get the ambush, or if the Cadian will be able to react right away and then have the Tyranid react to that after the Cadian reaction. So fingers crossed that the Cadian can get some luck during this turn, because there's still 1, 2, 3, 4 ambush points after this. So still a lot of roadway left, a lot of Tyranid in this thick jungle around them that's going to be coming out and just trying to decimate them and get that bioform back that's hanging out on the back of the Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler. So we're going to move into second turn, and we'll see how it goes with those rolls. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, so here we go for turn 2's roll to see what wave of Tyranid are coming out. That was wave 6, so if I roll a 6 again, I'm going to be rolling until I get something else. Then we're going to find out if it's going to be an ambush or a reaction. I've been calling these turns, but they're more like ambushes, so the turns are kind of not really, I don't know, it doesn't make sense for this kind of game, because the turn can either go Tyranid or Cadian off the bat, mattering on that roll. So here we go. This is going to be what wave is coming in this time. So I rolled a 1, and my number 1 wave is 3 Tyranid warriors and 30 Hormagaunts. So the Cadian just lost a lot of guys, and now they're going to be facing a lot more Tyranid. Luckily, the Hormagaunts are pretty weak, so those las guns and other smaller weapons will hopefully be able to take them out. But Hormagaunts in hand-to-hand versus Cadian, I would definitely give it to the Hormagaunts. The Khazarkan might be able to help out, but we'll see. And we're going to roll now to see the direction that they are coming from. So here we go. It is coming from the same spot. So I am probably going to, like, the arrows right here. And if I put that out on the field, maybe right coming in from behind the first chunk of that section. So that's going to throw people into disarray again. And I'm going to see if they are going to be reacting, the Cadian, or if they're going to be ambushed. So, as before, 246 is Tyranid, and 135 is Cadian, so let's see what happens. It is a 5, so that's good for my Cadian. They're going to be able to react when those Tyranid jump on the board, and I'm going to get them placed. I'll flip the camera over to show you guys where they are, and then my Cadian are going to be able to move, shoot, get into hand-to-hand, take that first reaction, and from there I might be moving that truck up faster, but I'm going to hit that third ambush site really quick if I do that. So I'm going to have to think a little bit before I move, and I'll let you guys know what I come up with. I'll flip over to my other camera and show you how that all ends. Alright.
Okay, so my Tyranid have been placed for their second ambush / turn. Luckily, I rolled reactive for the Cadian, so this is going to go right back to the Cadian for movement, shooting, and hand-to-hand if they want to do that. Massive wave of Tyranid Hormagaunts coming out of the thick jungle, and those 4 Gene Stealers are still left, so I'm going to really have to move it and see what I can do. And then there's still 4 waves left. I also don't know if I mentioned previous, but the Crusade rules are all free on Warhammer Community. So if you guys go to warhammer.com, there's a link for Warhammer Community, and you can download like updated points documents, and then the whole Crusade documents are in there, and you can print off your Crusade force, your unit forces, all that stuff for the Crusade. I'm just going to remove the second one here, and then you can follow along too if you want, or create your own Crusades. At the end of this battle, it's going to be very cool to walk through that. I'm going to take some time just to show you how those stats all line up, and also battle scars for the units that have been lost. I don't know if I'm going to do that at the end of every single battle. I'll probably show you guys like the finalized unit Crusade sheets by the end, but I won't walk through it for every single battle. I'll walk through it for this one though, because this is the first, and it'll be good to knock that rust off as well, because I haven't done it in a bit. But yeah, we'll see how the second turn goes for the Cadian. There's my little pug, he's still alive. And there's the real pug, Homer, he's awake this time. Homer! Homer! He's itchy. Okay. Alright, so we're going to get on to the Cadian move. I'll show you guys what they've done, and then we'll move into shooting after that, and hopefully we can pick away at some of these models that have just entered the board, because there's still a lot of the convoy left to get to Oodabooda Science Facility. Alright, so my Cadian have, the first part of the convoy has moved up another 9 inches. The Castellan is getting these guys to do double time. They did the move again, so they were able to move 9 inches. The Hellhounds tight in behind, as well as the Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler to try to get this thing back, or at least to the Oodabooda Science Facility, which is just up the road a little bit. Things are starting to get a little tricky though, because the whole back end of my convoy, which is a lot of like my other Hellhounds in here, my Sentinels, and my other Khazarkan squad are starting to fall behind quite a bit, and they're being held up by a lot of Tyranid model. So my Cadian command squad, Lieutenant or Captain here, has done the take aim order again for the 10-person Cadian shock troop squad, so they're going to have better ballistic skill to shoot into these Hormagaunts and Tyranid warriors. Preacher Uriah Jacobus still has that small section left around him. They're also going to start chipping away. My Khazarkan have moved up with the Commissar, and they still have the fixed bayonets, which is good, because if the Hormagaunts do survive this wave, or the Tyranid warriors, or the Gene Stealers, which are still alive. They'll have a little bit better weapon skill going on. My Hellhound has come in behind to back them up, and it's going to start pegging away at these Tyranid warriors. Hopefully it can really take them out. And then my Sentinels have kind of boxed it in, and they're going to start shooting into the Gene Stealers or the Tyranid warriors as well. So my strategy is going to be to thin out some of these numbers first with the lesser powered weapons, lesser strength weapons, and then have my bigger stuff try to chip away at those Tyranid warriors like my Hellhound and my 2 Sentinels. But this is a lot of space to make up. So if more Tyranid continue to pour out from kind of the middle of the convoy or the back end, this is a very small unit if they're taking on something like the Screamer Killer, or Tyrant Guards, or things like that, Carnifexes that are still in the other waves. So if they come out in front as per one of the Scatter Dice rolls, it's going to be very, very tricky to take them out. So wish them luck. I'm moving into the shooting phase now, and I've rolled for that first turn, so I think I'm not going to be rolling for this one. I will roll off camera. I'll show you guys the aftermath of that. As always, I'm going to be completely legit to, not flipping dice over that are 1s to like 6s and stuff like that, and we'll see how these Cadian do. And then I will continue to roll the big rolls for what waves are coming up for the Tyranid and who's going to ambush, who's going to react, stuff like that. So I'm going to move over to my dice tray, start rolling like crazy, and I'll start the camera back up with the aftermath from the Cadian attack on the Tyranid, and then the Tyranid get their move. So if there are any of these guys left, even Hormagaunts jumping into hand-to-hand with Cadian, lights out Cadian. So yeah, good luck Cadian. Bye-bye. Okay, so I finished up rolling my Cadian shooting phase for turn/ambush 2. Pretty good outcome. I put a lot of high-powered weapons into the Tyranid warriors, and they were wiped out. Once again, my Hellhound tank did some great damage against them. It didn't actually get the final kills. That was done by my section here of Cadian. So that's who finished off that unit, so they're going to get a point for that. My command squad with the take aim order was enormous for that group because their ballistic skill went from 4 to 3, which was fantastic, as well as their own. The command squad itself didn't do much, but that Cadian section finished them off after the Hellhound had kind of softened them up. My surviving section here with Preacher Uriah Jacobus took out a couple of the Hormagaunts. And then my Khazarkin were trying to shoot at the Gene Stealers, and you can still see that there's 4 left. A lot of missed shots, a lot that weren't wounded, and one of them did get a wound removed, but they're still in the fight, and they're going to be in hand-to-hand very soon. This section back here as well fired into the Hormagaunts and thinned out their numbers, so the little pile I have over here is how many Hormagaunts were finished off in that turn. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9-ish, so pretty good. And there's my Tyranid warriors that have been lost, the Swarm Lord, and the Gene Stealers. So 6 Gene Stealers were down that previous turn. My Sentinels are kind of turning into my Eradicator unit from, or my Eliminator unit, sorry, from my Crimson Fists. They're starting off slow. So the crack missile or grenade from this Sentinel did quite well. It wounded some of the Tyranid warriors also. And then this one here did not fire, so it misfired, and that's a very strong weapon to have misfire, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, that is what's going on there. I would have used my heavy bolter on the Hellhound, but since I used the Melta and it took away some wounds there, that was the end of that. Actually, I think my Hellhound got that kill. I think he finished off the final Tyranid warrior, so that's another kill for that Hellhound and the Melta cannon. Because yeah, these guys were firing Hormagaunts. That doesn't make any sense because I wanted their las guns aimed at them. So I'm going to make sure that the Hellhound gets another point because he's the one that finished off the final Tyranid warrior model. So that's it for the Cadian shoot phase. No one went into hand-to-hand combat, but now those Hormagaunts can bound pretty far, and we're going to get into hand-to-hand here in a sec as they move into that. I do have my fixed bayonets from the Commissar that's attached to that Khazarkin unit, so I'm hoping that that's going to help them at least hold out a bit against those Gene Stealers. And then we're going to be moving into ambush/turn 3 as the Cadian move forward. We're going to see what Tyranid come out, what direction they come from, and if it's going to be an ambush or if the Cadian are going to be able to react and get the first turns. So I will move over to my dice tray again. Well, I'll do the movement first, start this going so you guys can see what's moved into where. And then from there, I'm going to move to my dice tray and we're going to get these hand-to-hand combats going. So on to Tyranid turn/ambush 2. Be right back. Okay, so the Tyranid have moved, and as you can see, that remaining swarm of Hormigons has just jumped all over that 10-person Cadian shock troop section, as well as the command squad. They had take aim on as their order for this turn, so they were able to shoot better, but their hand-to-hand is not going to be buffed at all, so we may actually lose the entire command squad as well as that 10-person section. These three are still holding out in the middle from that decimated section, and then the Gene Stealers have got into hand-to-hand combat with the Khazarkin Tigers, but fixed bayonets was ordered by the Commissar, so that's going to help them out with their ballistic skill, and they can maybe repel those Gene Stealers. Those things have been here since the beginning of the battle, and I really, really hope that we can take them out. So the way this is going to work, since the Tyranid attacked, they're going to be able to do the hand-to-hand combat rolls first, and whatever remaining units are left are going to be able to fight back and see if they can kill any of the enemy models. So I'm going to go to my dice tray, I'm going to roll, and we're going to see the aftermath of this hand-to-hand combat. Really hoping my Cadian will be okay, but that is a lot of attacks. And if the Gene Stealers roll well, that's a total of 16 attacks against 10 Khazarkin and the Commissar. So that whole back of my convoy might be wiped out here, except for Sentinels, Hellhound, and that 3-person section. So we'll see how it goes. Good luck, Cadian. So not a very good round for my Section 2, which is led by Sergeant Apone. So I'm sorry, all you Aliens fans out there, as well as my command squad that was attached to them. The Hormigons came in with 63 attacks that landed. And from that, the flak armor was pretty much shredded. Because these things, you know, they're not amazing against weapons, as we saw. A lot of them were killed by just las gunfire. But when they get into hand-to-hand, they have 3 attacks apiece, and they also have a -1 AP. So flak armor that's usually a 5+ save turns into a 6+, so you don't have much of a chance. The Cadian command squad, like the commander, used to have an invulnerable save, but that's been removed as per the app that I was using. So I tried to do the Feel No Pain 6+ because there was a medic that's attached to that command squad, but nothing helped and they were completely decimated. So that's another 2 battle scars, and this is why I saved those 5 requisition points at the very start, to use a few of them at least to be able to remove those battle scars after for my next fight. I think I probably should have also maybe put some Ogren in here or something that were a little better hand-to-hand combat models, so I'll be thinking about that when I build my force in the future with requisitioning points. I have tons more units I want to put in, but I thought this would be good against lesser armor. So we're going to move into this next turn here, or the next hand-to-hand combat, Gene Stealers versus Khazarkin. So I'm going to roll those again off table. They have their fixed bayonets on, so the ballistic skill is a little bit better. But that's only if they get the attacks back. So those Gene Stealers get to attack first, as it was their turn. And we're going to see what comes from that. I'm really hoping that the Khazarkin can fight back and take them out, because this convoy is getting decimated pretty badly, and all these Hormigons are still on the board with, you know, not many guns up here to be able to take them out. So I gotta move, keep getting the squad down. There's going to be another ambush coming in shortly with 3 more after that. So it's not looking too good right now. We'll see if we can maybe get one of those allied units to the door of the Oodabooda Science Facility. If not, it's going to be a problem. My Sentinels too are still there, but they can only do so much. So here we go again. Good luck, Khazarkin, and hopefully they can fend off those Gene Stealers and maybe strip a couple wounds off them. We'll see what the rolls say. So the hand-to-hand combat phase has ended, and the Khazarkin lost 5 models to the Gene Stealers. That fixed bayonets helped a little bit, and they were able to kill 1 Gene Stealer when they fought back after the onslaught. And from earlier, the Hormigons wiped out the Cadian command squad as well as one of the sections led by Sergeant Apone. We're going to be moving up to number 3 now, and we're going to see what ambush comes out, what wave, and then if it's going to be an ambush or a reaction. I'm really hoping the Cadian get a reaction roll so I can start to at least hopefully take out some of these numbers. If not, the Tyranid are going to get their move right away. and these Hormagaunts are way too close. They're going to be right into combat again. Yeah, it's not looking great right now, but this is the way the Crusade rolls. And 10th edition, like just seeing what they've done to my Astra Militarum and my Cadian, it's kind of tough. But that's the rules. That's what we're playing by. And I've been rolling okay. It's been pretty good rolls for both sides, but I think my Cadian have been getting a little bit better rolls than the Tyranid. And we're going to see what happens now. So I'm going to flip back over to my dice tray. We're going to see what wave is coming in. I'm going to move these guys up kind of a free like 2 or 3 inches up to that third ambush point. And we are going to see what shakes out. If something comes out in front here, not good, especially if it's Carnifexes, that might be game over, unless these guys can thin these out, because again, the victory indicator for the Cadian, the allied force, is one model has to be surviving by the end of this, and they're the ones that are going to carry this newfound bioform right into that Oodabooda science facility. So I'm going to switch over my dice tray, we'll get the rolls going, and we'll see what Tyranid are coming out next. Good luck, Cadian, again.
Okay, so here's the roll for the third ambush for the Tyranid to see what's coming out. So far we've seen number 1 and number 6. So I'm rolling 2, 3, 4, 5. If that doesn't come out, then I'm going to keep rolling until I get one of those. So we're looking for a 2, 3, 4, 5. Got the 6. That's already come out, so we can't do that. Got the 1. That's already come out, so we're not doing that. 6 again. 1 again, 2. So the next wave for the Tyranid is number 2. I'm going to roll the scatter dice now to see where they're coming from, and then I'm going to place them on the board. So that's the second wave of Tyranid, and it is a hit. So from the perspective of the hive mind, I'm going to be putting this number 2 wave out on the battlefield as per where it's most strategic for the Tyranid. And right now, that's going to most likely be at the very front of the convoy. So they're going to be facing that number 2 wave. I'll get the models on the board, show you what that's made of, and then we're going to roll to see if it's going to be Cadian reaction to the ambush or a full-out Tyranid ambush. And they're going to take the initiative for the third ambush, third turn. So I will stop this now, go back to my other camera, get everything set up, and then we'll roll to see if it's going to be reaction or ambush. Okay, now this is the roll to see if it's going to be an ambush. So even numbers 2, 4, 6 for a Tyranid ambush, and then 1, 3, 5 for a Cadian reaction. I'm really hoping for an odd number. It is a 5. That's a bit of a saving grace because the Cadian are going to be able to react from the ambush and hopefully take out this new wave. I'm going to flip over my other camera and show you what has come onto the board and where, as well as the back of the convoy and a little recap on what's going on there.
Alright, so again, here's the back of the convoy. Gene Stealers are still there. We have our Hormagaunt still there, but the Cadian get the reaction here, so they're going to be able to move, shoot, and get into hand-to-hand if they want first. At the front of the convoy, the Tyranid got the hit rolls, so strategically that hive mind said, you know what, I'm going to block the road with these next models that come out, and what better models to block a road? Maybe Carnifex, but Tyrant Guard and Von Ryan's Leapers. So Von Ryan's Leapers, great in hand-to-hand. You saw them shred apart Captain Acastus of the Crimson Fists in my last battle. And the Tyrant Guard are very high toughness, which was only able to be wiped out by my Eradicators. So this Kazrakin squad has a few weapons in it. That Melta-Cannon, again, is going to be huge for my other Hellhound tank. You've seen my other one performing very well. And with this reaction, I'm hoping that we can get this road block out of the way and then continue to move towards the camp. So we still have 4 ambush, 5 ambush, 6 ambush. And then there's the gates just beyond this roadway. But first I got to get through this. And my back end has to try to thin this out and get back up to the front of the convoy to help them out. Because as more Tyranid come out, they need that support. So I'm going to start my move. When my movement is done, I will show you where all the models lie. And then we're going to move to shooting. I'll be rolling again off camera for all that. And then I'll show you the aftermath of each. But we'll do moving first. And then I'll come right back. Okay, so movement is done for my Cadian for the beginning of turn/ambush 3. My Kazarkin couldn't move, neither could my Hellhound or the Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler, because the road is currently blocked and going off-road is kind of impossible because it's such a narrow corridor. My strategy here for the shooting is I believe I'm going to use my Melta-Cannon and Heavy Stubbers to take out the Von Ryan's Leapers, and then try to get my Kazarkin to take out some of the Hive guard, like the Tyrant guard. So we'll see how that goes. On this side, probably the only strategy I could really do is surround these Hormagaunts. So my other Hellhound is going to start blasting at them with the Melta-Cannon and hopefully just splash a bunch of Melta stuff all over them and kill a bunch of models. My section here is still going with Preacher Uriah Jacobus. They're going to also start to go into those Hormagaunts with some shots. My Kazarkin are going to do the same, and then they have the 10 section there, or 10 person section behind them. So these guys also have the fixed bayonet still. So if there are some Hormagaunts still alive and they decide to attack the Kazarkin, they're going to have that additional ballistic skill. And then my Sentinels have had enough of these Gene Stealers. They've actually gone into hand-to-hand with them with their chain swords to hopefully slice and dice them up, because they've got a high toughness. So I'm hoping the Gene Stealers won't be able to penetrate if they do fight back. That's the strategy I have right now, kind of the only way I can break this. And we're going to see how these shoot rolls all go. So I'm going to start up here, roll off camera, show you the aftermath for the front of the convoy and for the back of the convoy. I really hope I get some good rolls. All right. Before I forget what happened here with the Cadian shooting phase, I wanted to start the camera up again. I'm going to move to the back of the convoy in a sec for all those rolls. My strategy did not come out the way I wanted it to, just due to rolls. So the Hellhound either misfired or did something wrong with its Melta-Cannon. The Heavy Flamer was able to strip a wound off of one of the Von Ryan's Leapers. The Heavy Stubbers on the truck did nothing. And then my Kazarkin squad with all of those special weapons, the Melta-Gun jammed, the Plasma Pistol bounced off, the Plasma Gun took a wound away, and then the Hotshot Volley Gun also did. So one of the Von Ryan's Leapers is dead. I was hoping to have a lot more finished off by this turn, but that's the way it goes. The move also was still stuck in here, so if they did have take aim, it might have helped a bit, but the toughness of these is pretty high, so that's the issue with this one. And also I need things like my Melta-Cannon to actually roll to hit, so not great. I'm moving now back to here. I'm really hoping I have better rolls and better damage and wound penetration for the Hormagaunts, and then hopefully the Gene Stealers can go down to those two Sentinels. So I'm going to start rolling over here to clear out this Hormagaunt group, and if I can do that, these guys will at least be able to kind of float up the road hopefully and help out, because I don't know if the Castellan, his Kazarkin, and his Hellhound is going to be able to do much here. And then we still have 3 more ambushes that are coming, so I need as many guys up here as I can get. So wish them luck. I'm going to try to roll the best I can for them, and we'll see what shakes from it. And I'll do the shooting in the hand-to-hand back-to-back rolls, and then I'll come back in for the aftermath and see how everything is by the end of that. Okay. That finishes up the Cadian turn/ambush 3 reaction. It's going to be going over to the Tyranid here in a sec. Just wanted to recap what happened. So my Hellhound was able to splash a bunch of Melta-Cannon, Melta all over the Hormagaunts. It wiped out a few, but not as many as I was hoping. The heavy lifting was actually my Kazarkin and my Cadian section. They took out the rest of those Hormagaunts, so there's 2 remaining. And they are probably going to jump into hand-to-hand next turn. The idea to put 2 Sentinels against 3 Gene Stealers I thought was a great idea, but they still have 12 attacks between all the Gene Stealers. The Sentinels landed nothing, and actually a Sentinel lost a wound to one of the Gene Stealers. So my Heavy Plasma Gun Sentinel is down to 6 wounds. My Grenade Launcher Sentinel still has its full 7. But definitely not what I was expecting, and those Gene Stealers are still there to have to be taken care of, and they can jump into combat now with my Kazarkin, with that remaining 3-person section with the Preacher, or the 10-person section. If they jump in and get 12 attacks against that section, that might be another one that gets lost. No points either because that's still a unit that exists. So next turn, hope we can wipe it out and someone will get a point there. But this was not the best case scenario, and there's still a Tyranid model at the back of my convoy, and my convoy is dwindling. And of course the Tyranid have the move right now, so these are all going to be jumping in as well. And Von Ryan's Leapers, as we saw against Captain Acastus, are very good in hand-to-hand. I don't know if my Cadian are going to make it through their first Crusade battle, so fingers crossed. I'm still hoping for some kind of miracle, but we'll get to the Tyranid move and see what they're going to do, and I'll start the camera back up and show you the aftermath of that. So the Tyranid hive mind has passed on its commands to its peons, and we have the Von Ryan's Leapers in hand-to-hand combat with the Khazarkin squad. The hive or Tyrant Guard are still behind them, and they're like a wall, so that's going to be difficult to get through, especially if my Khazarkin get dwindled by this hand-to-hand attack. Since the Tyranid went in first, they're going to have all of the first rolls to do the hand-to-hand with, and I was really hoping at this point that they'd be gone, but the rolls were not in my favor last turn. Over here on the back of the convoy, we have the two Hormagaunts that have jumped into hand-to-hand combat with the Khazarkin. I'm hoping with that fixed bayonets they'll be able to fight back and kill the two of them, but the Hormagaunts again get the first go, so we're going to see how many models survive that. My two-person section with the Preacher is still going. My Commissar is attached to the Khazarkin as well, so he's going to be able to hopefully help out in hand-to-hand. And then on the back end, my last 10 section of Cadian has been attacked by the Gene Stealers. And we saw previously what Gene Stealers have done to 10-person sections. They have still 12 attacks, and they're also going to get first roll. So I'm going to move over to the dice tray, roll, pray for a miracle for my Cadian, and I'll show you what has shaken from that and what models remain. And then after that, we're going to be moving to ambush number 4 and see what's coming out and where it's going to come out. So this is nowhere near over, and my Cadian are, it's looking pretty bad. So we'll see how it goes. All right, time to roll. Tyranid turn / ambush 3 is done. Better than I expected. The Von Ryan's Leapers went into hand-to-hand combat with my Khazarkin. The Khazarkin lost one model, but they were able to really battle back and kill a Von Ryan's Leaper, mostly because of my Cadian Castellan and that Power Fist. He thumped one of them, and the remaining Von Ryan Leaper has 2 wounds left. So we're going to see what comes out next turn, but good. They're still going. There's still quite a few troops there. On the back end, not as great. My Khazarkin were able to kill those 2 Hormagaunts, which was great with the help of their Commissar. The Gene Stealers wrecked that 10-person squad of Cadian shock troops. I'm not surprised. We've seen them in the past do that. But what was pretty crazy is one of these 3 remaining models got a close combat weapon, so a knife or a bayonet, right into one of the eyes of the Gene Stealers, and they're now down to 2. So they fought tooth and nail and were able to kill a Gene Stealer. We're going to move now to the next turn, the next ambush that's going to occur, and we're going to see what Tyranid model are coming out on the board. Yeah, it's getting pretty tricky. We're going to see where they come out. At this point, I'm really hoping that they're actually going to come out in the back, as much as that sucks because these units are going to all be battle scarred. But if they come out in front again, I don't think we're going to make it to the facility by the 6th turn, because it's getting further and further away and harder to get to. So we're going to see now. I'm going to go over to my dice tray, roll, and see what Tyranid are coming out, see if it's going to be a Cadian reaction or a Tyranid ambush. We're going to take it from there. My Sentinels are still going, so if something does come on the back end, I'm hoping we can hang them up for a little bit. And I think this Hellhound is probably going to move forward to help out, but that's only if my Cadian get the reaction right away. So let's see what comes from these dice rolls, and I'll come back to this camera and show you what the outcome was. Okay.
Alright, so back behind the dice rolling camera to see what comes for this 4th ambush. It's a 6-turn game, so if we make it through the rest of the ambushes that are coming through, they've got a straight shot to the gate of the science facility. So I'm going to roll this anyways and see what comes about, because they might not make it past this wall, so I want to keep the game interesting and fun. And we will see what happens. So here we go. We're seeing what's coming out next. I've already rolled a 1, so we're waiting on 3, 4, and 5. So we have the 4th wave coming out. I'm going to place them on the board after we roll the scatter dice and show you where they're coming from and what they are composed of. So this is the direction that 4th ambush is coming from. And it is coming from the front. So not very good. And there's going to be even more models out front, so I'm going to have to get my Cadian moving to get up to support. So here we go. I'm going to place those models, show you what comes of it. At the same time, I might as well roll to see if it's a reaction or a Tyranid ambush. So 2, 4, 6 Tyranid, 1, 3, 5 Cadian. Yes, it's a 1. So it's a little bit of a saving grace there. It's going to be Cadian reaction. So when those 4th wave models come in, I'm going to be able to react to that move, shoot, hand-to-hand, whatever I need to do, and clean some stuff up. So that's at least a little bit of solace. So I'll get into that right now and move over to my other camera.
So this is wave 4 for the Tyranid as per that D6 roll of 4. So we got 10 more pesky Hormigaunt models that came out. We have a Tyranid Prime that has full 6 wounds, and then we have 3 Raveners that have come out as well. They were super close to the 4th objective marker there, so that's why I brought them out. The 5th one's a little too far, so I'm gonna see if we can cut these down during maybe a couple of turns just to give us a bit of a shot here, because if a 5th one comes out, like, we're not even close to that ambush point. So I'm gonna wait out until my Cadian make it there, if they do, and that's gonna give them a little bit more of a fighting chance, because if another wave or 2 come out now, not even being close to those ambush points, it's game over. So I want to have a bit of a game here, and that's kind of the rules I wanted to set down anyways, that the Cadian had to reach those points to have the ambush happen, but the 4th point was pretty close, and the hive mind wants these guys dead, so they sent out that 4th wave. I'm going to move into the Cadian movement phase now, because they did get the reaction from my other D6 roll. It was a roll of 1, and that 1, 3, 5 is for Cadian, so I'm going to see what we're doing. My strategy on the back end, I got to tie up those Gene Stealers. That Cadian section's pretty much done, so I think I'm probably going to use them for that to hold off. Move my Kazarkin up, move that remaining section here, or maybe have them stay back and take out those Gene Stealers too, because if another wave does come in from behind, that's not going to be good. And I got to get these Sentinels moving, as well as my Hellhound up to the front of the convoy to aid with this massive wave that's just come in. As per that rule. So I'm going to do my movement. I'll turn the camera back on, and we'll see how everything goes. Cadian turn 4 movement phase is done. I've moved my Sentinels up to try to start getting up to the front of the convoy. My Kazarkin have done the same with that fixed bayonets rule. The remaining sections back here, so there's 2 sections left, with one has 2 members, one has 3. And then the Preacher are going to try to hold off those Gene Stealers and possibly anything else that comes out from the back. I don't know if there's enough turns left to get these guys right up there, but those weapons have pretty good distance, so I'm going to try to see if I can maybe do some long shots from the Sentinels during my shooting phase and help out the front. So on the front, my Hellhound busted ass to get up here, so it's right beside its buddy, and they're going to start raining down some Melta onto the heavier models. The Ridge Hauler is also off-road right now. It moved off to the side, and the 3 heavy stubbers are also aiming at this group. My Kazarkin order has been changed to take aim as per the Castellan to give them a better shot with ballistic skill, and they are going to be shooting every single thing they have at that Von Reinsleeper to try to knock it off the board, and the Castellan will be doing the same. And when that's done, I'm hoping that my Meltas will be able to take out those Tyrant Guard, and then maybe the Heavy Stubbers will take out the Hormagaunts. If I can battle them back that much, we might have a chance to move next turn, but we're going to see. So I'm going to go over to my dice tray, start doing the shoot rolls. I'm going to start back here with my Cadian taking on the 2 Gene Stealers. And again, if those Gene Stealers get into hand-to-hand, not good. But I'm going to try to finish them off right now with these last straggling Cadians. And then I'll move up here into the shoot. So I'm going to roll off camera, and then I'm going to show you the aftermath of the Cadian shoot phase. No hand-to-hand. I don't want to, sacrifice my guys that quickly. So we're going to be shooting for as long as we can, and hopefully dwindle some of these numbers for the last 2 Tyranid waves to see if we can win this battle. All right, be back in a sec. So this is how the battle is looking right now after the Cadian movement and shoot of turn/ambush 4. So those remaining 2 sections that are very sparse were able to finish off the last of the Gene Stealers, which is fantastic. My Sentinels have moved up a little bit, as well as the Khazarkan Tigers. Up here, the Cargo Ridge Hauler fired with all of its heavy stubbers into the Von Ryan Leapers, did nothing. So I had to turn over to my Khazarkan to take out that final Von Ryan's Leaper, and it was done with the plasma gun, so it is gone. The 2 Hellhound tanks fired at the Tyrant Guards, and they were able to take 1 out. So that's pretty good. It is moving over to the Tyranid turn right now, and we are going to see what happens with that. Because this is their movement phase now, and very shortly as well, if the Cadian are able to move up, they're going to be seeing what Ambush 5 has in store for them. But for now, it's going to be that Tyranid move. Those Tyrant Guard aren't happy because they lost their buddy, and they're going to be jumping into hand-to-hand most likely with the Khazarkan. Hopefully that Castellan is going to be able to help them out. They used Take Aim to help with their ballistic skill, but that was all put towards the Von Ryan's Leapers, so they did get an enemy unit destroyed point, but that might be the end of them seeing how those Hive or the Tyrant Guard roll. Yeah, we're going to see how this boils down. It might be a really tight one again, but right now the Tyranid are looking like they're going to take it. So let's go, Cadian. Keep moving, keep shooting, and hopefully we can get a victory from this one. So over to the Tyranid for their turn 4. All right. Okay, so Tyranid have moved. The Tyrant Guard have gone into hand-to-hand combat with that Khazarkan squad. Really hoping that Castellan's going to be able to use that Power Fist to crack some of that thick Tyrant Guard armor. The Hormagaunts moved up, and backing them up are the 3 Raveners. The winged Tyranid Prime moved up onto the rock. He is trying to take out one of these Hellhounds, or at least do something to it, so that's the plan there. I'm going to roll off camera for the Tyrant Guard and see what happens to these Khazarkan. This is my last full unit of guys, pretty much. There's 9 left in there, and if I lose that, I don't know what's going to happen. So we might not even make it to the ambush 5 point, because it's still a good 12 inches, 20 inches away. But let's see how this rolls, and maybe those Khazarkan can survive the attack of the Tyrant Guard and get a little bit of damage back on them. But since the Tyrant Guard initiated that, they're going to get the first rolls and deal the first amount of damage. So I'm going to move to my dice tray, roll for that, and I'll show you guys the aftermath. The back end is still going, and they can try to, they're going to have to move up here anyways to try to get up to that ambush point, and we're going to see what comes from the Tyranid. So wish them luck again. All right. That ends the Tyranid hand-to-hand combat turn 4. So the movement happened in there. The Tyrant Guard went right into the Khazarkan with the Castellan. The Khazarkan lost another 2 members, but they were able to fight back, and the Castellan with his Power Fist actually stripped some wounds off of the Tyrant Guard. So one of them is down to 1 wound. The other still has full 4. We're too far away from the ambush disc, so I'm going to be going back to my Cadian now for their movement and shooting. I didn't think that it was going to be this way, like just with the rolls, so this might be longer than 6 turns because it's all kind of sparked by hitting those ambush discs. So the Cadian are going to continue to fight until they're either dead or they clear the roadway, because on the sides here, like as per the rules of this battle, you're not going to be able to drive through there. The ridge haulers are going to get all stuck up and messed up in mud and stuff, so they're going to have to power through this, and it might be a little bit of a longer battle than I thought. But the Cadian are going to be doing their movement phase. I still have the back end of my convoy here as well, so they're going to try to start moving up, and there might be enough time for them to actually come up to lend a hand, so we'll see how that movement goes. After the movement's done, I will of course show you the outcome of that, and then we'll move to the Cadian shooting. And I don't want to be suicidal, so I'm not going to be putting them into hand-to-hand combat. but I might be moving them back a little bit to get some room here, but we'll see what I decide to do. And I'm going to keep the take aim order on. So this is my command phase right now, and my Castellan is going to continue doing take aim so they can get a bit of a better ballistic skill for all of their weapons, and hopefully dwindle those numbers down. And we'll see how this one goes. So movement, camera, and then shooting, camera. So be back in a sec. Movement phase for the Cadian has ended, and they've done a bit of a tactical retreat to get some space there to put some ranged weapons in on this Tyranid group that's coming at them. They're going to be able to shoot next, so there's a lot of firepower there, and I'm really hoping it's going to dwindle those numbers. They're also getting some, help finally coming in. The remaining Khazarkan Tigers with the Commissar is trying to catch up. The 2 Sentinels, which are trying to catch up. And then the remaining 2 sections with the Preacher are going to hold the 6, just to make sure that nothing comes out there during another ambush phase. I'm going to move to shooting now on my dice tray, and I'll show you guys the outcome of that. These should now also be in range. I think I'm going to be able to start blasting away with the heavy plasma cannons. That might also help against those Tyranid warriors, or the Tyrant Guard, or the Tyranid Prime. So let's see how this goes. It might be, if I roll really well, could be good for the Cadian. So we'll see what happens. All right. Pretty successful shooting phase from my Cadian there. This is what I was hoping for from the start. Some really good rolls. My 2 Hellhound tanks, again, with probably the most kills in the battle, took out the Tyrant Guard squad. So that unit has been destroyed, and they get a unit destroyed point for that. The heavy stubbers on here all missed or did not wound, so that's 9 shots that did nothing. My Khazarkan blasted away at the Hormagaunts and really cleared that out. I was hoping that they'd be able to get those final 2, but they're straggling around. I'm hoping that they're too far to be able to get into hand-to-hand combat. Raveners are still at full strength, and I was able to take a couple pot shots, one pot shot with my plasma cannon that's attached to the Sentinel. Finally got a roll, and I was able to strip 1 wound off of that Tyranid Prime on the mountain. The Sentinel with the grenade launcher didn't do much, so I tried to shoot, and again it either did not fire or it did not wound. So now it's moving back over to the Tyranid for their movement. If they're far enough away, it's very possible that my Cadian can get the advantage here and start shooting again, and hopefully get a few more really good rolls to help out with that. But we will see what shakes from that. And moving over to Tyranid, we still have the 5th ambush point and the 6th ambush point. Things are looking a little better because it was pretty grim there for a while. So that defensive kind of retreat move there was a good idea when you're face to face with a bunch of hand-to-hand creatures. So we'll see how the Tyranid move goes. I'm going to stop the camera, start it back up, and show you what's occurred there. And hopefully they're out of range of a hand-to-hand. So here we go. Okay, so the attacks continue. This isn't a new ambush. That's not going to happen until the Cadian get a little bit closer to that 5th disc. But the Winged Tyranid Prime was within range of the Khazarkan, so he has jumped into hand-to-hand combat with the Khazarkan and the Castellan. And my little Homer the Pug model, there's the real one there. Oh, tired again. He's really sort of tired in that. Oh, he's nice though. Look at this little foot on him. He's going to survive no matter what. It doesn't mean they win the battle if he lives, but, I'm not going to let them kill a pug dog. So that's going to be tricky because that Winged Tyranid Prime definitely has the capability of taking out that entire Khazarkan squad. So I'm hoping we roll well, or it doesn't roll well, and we can fend it off and maybe even beat it. The 2 Hormagaunt that were down here have gone into hand-to-hand combat with the Ridge Hauler truck. I'm using Torok's stats for this, so I'm going to have to refer to that and see what kind of ballistic skill it has and if the Hormagaunts can strip some wounds off of it, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'm going to roll off camera, and we will see how this shakes out. I have a better feeling now about this round, because even if that Khazarkan squad is finished off, the Hellhounds can still put some fire on those Raveners as well as the stub guns, because I don't think the 2 Hormagaunts will take the truck out, but we'll see. And then I do have a bit of a force back here, so we'll see. But there's still also the 2 final ambushes, and there's a lot of scary models in those ambushes. So mattering where they come from, it might be lights out. So the battle is still far from being won, but I do feel a little bit more optimistic. Tyranid move has concluded. The Tyranid Prime took out a lot more of my Khazarkin, but it did have a wound taken away from it from the Castellan's Power Fist. He punched him again in the head. I think for the command phase, I'm going to keep take aim on. I was thinking about maybe doing fixed bayonets, but I'm going to try to really get these Tyranid killed with range weapons, because the hand-to-hand's just not working with my Cadian, even with the Khazarkin. The 2 Hormagaunts tried to pescally sort of pick at the front of the Ridge Hauler, and it was just a stalemate, so the Ridge Hauler kind of bumped them off by moving, I guess. And that is the end of that turn, so I'm going to move back now to my Cadian. The orders are still take aim for these guys, and we have the fixed bayonets down here for the Khazarkin with my Commissar. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to dwindle these numbers with my firepower that's here, and then be able to keep moving down the road and see what we're going to face for ambush 5 and ambush 6. So I'm going to put the camera down, I'm going to do my movement, and we'll see how we do. You know what, I'll do the movement and the shooting in one take, and then when I come back, it's going to be the result of that shooting round that I'll include where the models have moved to and how many Tyranid are left, or, you know, if they're all left. So we'll see how that goes. Woof, great round by my Cadian for their shooting. They needed that big time. All the rolls were completely legit. So my Khazarkin squad took on the Tyranid Prime and took some wounds off of it, but it was my Hellhound that actually finished it off. My other Hellhound started to pick away at the Raveners and took some wounds off. The Cargo 8 Hauler, again with its heavy stubbers, didn't do anything. They either didn't shoot or didn't wound. And I have to give it to my Sentinels back here. The heavy plasma cannon took another Ravener out. And then finally a crack missile from this Sentinel here, from its missile launcher, was able to take out that final Ravener. So from that ambush, there's only those 2 pesky Hormagaunts left. They are going to get their move. And then from there, I'm hoping they'll be dead, but I'll be able to move around them during my next Cadian phase and keep this battle going. I'm going to move it right up to the 5th disc and see what ambush we're looking at and where it's coming from. So I'll get to that right now. So those 2 pesky Hormagaunts went again toe-to-toe with the Ridge Hauler and didn't strip any wounds off of it. The Ridge Hauler came back and drove them over with its tracked tires, or its armored tires, I should say. The only sad thing is that's a unit that's destroyed that was not destroyed by one of my Crusade force, so there won't be a point given to them for a unit being destroyed. But now at least this convoy can keep moving. I'm going to move them right up to the 5th disc here, and we are going to see what's coming out for the Tyranid. I'll be rolling again the D6, then we'll see if it's going to be reactive by the Cadian or if it's going to be an ambush by the Tyranid. So this is what I have left. 3 Khazarkin with the Castellan, my 2 Hellhounds still at full wounds, the Ridge Hauler with the Bioform. I have about half of my, less than half of my Khazarkin Tigers left with the Commissar attached, my 2 Sentinels, which are also pretty much at full health, and then I have those 2 decimated sections with the Preacher at the back. So it's getting close. We might be able to pull it off. We're going to have to see, but let's see what ambush turn 5 has to offer. Since there were no more Tyranid model on the board, on the table, I moved my Cadian right up to that 5th disc, so the ambush or reaction is just about to happen. So my Hellhounds are now taking point at the front for anything. Carnifexes are still to come, as well as a Screamer Killer, more Raveners, more Hormagaunts. This is still very... it's not a guarantee, but at least with the Hellhounds out front, if something does attack from the front, they're going to be good to go. My Khazarkin remaining from Sharkar's own with the Castellan are back behind that with the take aim. So that's my command phase move for that. The Ridge Hauler has moved up as well into the center of the convoy again for the most protection. On the back end now, I kept the distance away that it was before I moved everybody up, so this is still pretty accurate as to what that last move was. I have the remaining Khazarkin from the Tigers here with the Commissar with their fixed bayonet, the 2 armored Sentinels, and then at the back, still taking up the 6, are those 2 remaining sections. If Carnifex come in from behind, I'm going to have to switch this up really quick. So I'm hoping the ambush comes from the front. But we will see. The ambush rolls so far have not been in the Cadian favor, and it might continue to be that way. So I'm going to go off to my other camera and roll, show you guys what comes from that, and then we'll see where that ambush is coming from, and if the Cadian are going to be ambushed or if they're going to be able to react. The battle is coming to a close. I don't want to get too optimistic, but we're still in pretty good shape with full wounds almost on my Sentinels and full wounds on my Hellhounds. So let's see what these last couple ambush phases do.
Okay, so it's been a while, but I'm back behind my dice rolling tray for the 5th turn / ambush. There's 2 remaining forces left, so if I roll a 3 or I roll a 5, we're going to see what comes out. So I'm going to keep rolling until I get either a 3 or a 5. 1, 2, 3. So the next Tyranid wave is going to be 3. I'll show you what that's composed of in just a sec. That contains the Carnifexes. So we'll hopefully be able to make it past them if they come in from behind. If they come in from the front, they might be able to tear those Hellhounds apart. I'm going to roll my scatter dice now to see where they're going to come in from the jungle, and they're going to take their spot as per that dice. So it is a hit. As per the hive mind, what I would do is I would put my 2 Carnifexes right out in front of those tanks, which I'm going to do, and I will show you guys how that lands. The final roll, though, however, is to see if the Cadian are going to be able to react and shoot right away, or if they are going to be ambushed and get attacked first. So 1, 3, 5 Cadian, 2, 4, 6 Tyranid. Not good. It is a 4. I knew it was coming because all the other rolls have pretty much been odd. So it's a 4. So the Tyranid are going to ambush my Cadian and get that first move and hand-to-hand combat phase in. I'm going to place them on the field and cut back to my other camera to show where that is and what it looks like.
Okay, so just when I thought to get optimistic in regards to this battle, 2 Carnifex come out of the jungle with a hit roll from the hive mind, so they are right out front of this convoy. The Tyrant Guard were tough. These guys are even tougher, and they're blocking the path. So my Hellhounds both have a lot of unit kills, and I was really hoping they'd make it through this battle without a battle scar, but a Carnifex is definitely capable of tearing apart a tank, and these are pretty lightly armored, so they've done great. The weapon systems are awesome, but with that lower point value, the wounds are a little bit lower on these compared to other tanks, so I'm hoping that the Carnifex won't be able to shred them in this first turn, and they might be able to fire back with all other weapons, which would be great. The other thing with the setup too, like my Kazarkin can't really fire through the back of the tank, so they're going to either have to move up onto this hill with the movement phase. The heavy stubbers can still get in there too, so that might be able to get some Carnifex wounds, but the stubber doesn't have a great strength, and the Carnifex have a very high toughness. The rest of my units are kind of too far, and I don't think my plasma cannon, which is high enough strength to probably penetrate a Carnifex, isn't close enough and can't get a lock-in on that just from where it is. So I do have the back of my convoy that might be able to step up and possibly deal some damage, but this turn here is going to be super important to see if the Carnifex will shred those Hellhounds, and then if the Hellhounds do survive, if they can melt those 2 Carnifex. So wait out and see what happens. I am going to get into the movement phase for the Tyranid when I come back. You will see the outcome of that, and then we'll see what they're doing. And also, there's also 10 Hormagaunts back there, so not the strongest models, but we've seen them shred Cadian before. So if they keep going and these Carnifex are removed from the battle, the Hormagaunts are still there that have to be dealt with. So still a lot of the battle left, and then we do have that final 6th ambush disc, which is just behind the Hormagaunts, and that brings out some other very strong models. So there's still the Screamer Killer and Raveners to come as well from that last wave. So the battle is nowhere near done. But again, good luck Cadian, and hopefully you guys can take it. Tyranid movement phase is done, and those Carnifex are right out in front of the Hellhounds, ready to shred them with those massive claws. The Hormagaunts have also gone off the road to go through the bush. So if there is any units to try to take a hold up on this hill, they are going to have some Hormagaunts to deal with. So that hive mind is very strategic in that regard. I just wanted to show this to you guys before I start to roll for the Carnifex. And if the Hellhounds can survive the Carnifex attack, they are able to attack back with like their treads, so they can try to run them over. But you can see those Carnifex are like taller than the tanks, so I don't think the treads are going to do much, but you never know. And then if they do survive, those Melta-Cannons, hopefully I get some good rolls and I can finish off these Carnifex. But we will wait and see what the hand-to-hand combat roll does, and I'll do that right now and then get back with the aftermath. So that Tyranid ambush is done, and I was really worried my Hellhounds were going to get shredded, but the Carnifex actually rolled really poorly. One of the Hellhounds actually tried to fight back, but the toughness of the tracks the strength of the tracks compared to the toughness of the Carnifex just didn't do anything. So these two just bounced off each other, no wounds on either side. And now it's going to move back over to the Cadian, so I've got to do some really good strategy here, and I'm definitely going to try to put those Melta-Cannons right into the Carnifex's face and just try to melt them up. I'm going to probably move some of my guys up onto this mound to make sure the Hormagaunts don't get in here and start getting into hand-to-hand. So I'm going to be moving to my Cadian movement phase, and then to my Cadian shooting phase, and again, probably no hand-to-hand, but we'll see if my guys feel a little bit risque. But yeah, I'll start this back up after the movements have been done and fill you in on how that went. Okay, so that finishes my Cadian movement for the turn 5/ambush 5. The Hellhounds stayed in their spot. My Castellan with the remaining Sharkgar's Kasrkin are taking spots against the hill there as the Hormagaunts come around. The Kasrkin Tigers are up here with the Commissar, and they actually do have line of sight to that squad of Hormagaunts, so they are going to shoot in this turn to try to dwindle those numbers. My heavy stubbers on the Cargo Ridge Hauler can also shoot at the Carnifex. My two Sentinels are not in line of sight, and they can't shoot the Carnifex because they can't see it, and also they would shoot right through one of the tanks, so they're not going to do that. And then my final two sections there that have been hobbling along for pretty much the entire battle are still going. The Preacher is there with one of them, and then there's the 3-person left from one of the sections as well. So I'm going to move into the shooting. I'm going to roll off camera, and I'll see what happens. Really hoping these Hellhounds can hopefully take these Carnifex out, if not at least really wound them, and then maybe the Ridge Hauler, if it finally gets some rolls, can do some damage. So we'll see. And also those Hormagaunts, hopefully they're going to be thinned out as well. So I'm going to go off camera, I'll roll, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that concludes my Cadian shooting phase. My Hellhounds have been great all game. This time they were not. I wasn't able to do any damage with the Melta-Cannons or their second armaments, so the Heavy Flamer and the Heavy Bolter. I was really hoping the Melta would do it, but the Carnifex was able to save, and not good because there's a possibility of 10 wounds coming out of those Melta-Cannons if you get the right rolls. So they're still there. The crazy thing is my Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler with its heavy stubbers, very low strength, it's a strength 4, we're actually able to take a wound off of this Carnifex here. So it went from 8 to 7, and that was just a lucky shot, got it in the eye or somewhere where its chitin isn't as thick. My Kasrkin Tigers up here were able to take out a couple of the Hormagaunts, so I'm going to keep trying to shoot at them because they're going to be moving next turn right into hand-to-hand. And it's flipping right back over to the Tyranid movement phase, and those Carnifex are going to be jumping right in again against the Hellhounds, and the Hormagaunts are going to be running through that jungle to the other side of my convoy. So we'll see what happens there. I'll do all that stuff off camera, and I'll be right back to show you the outcome. Tyranid movement phase is done, so the Hormagaunts were just out of range. They're starting to clamber up that mountain to where the Tigers are. I also have my Cadian over here, so I'm hoping that they can jump up as well and give them some support. The Carnifex have moved right back into hand-to-hand combat with my 2 Hellhound tanks. I'm going to be rolling that off camera, and we'll see if those tanks can survive another round of hand-to-hand combat with those 2 beasts. And I will be rolling all that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, that was a quick round of hand-to-hand combat. They blew or gave blows to each other back and forth. So my Hellhound took its first wounds right here, so it is down to 8 wounds. The Carnifex was able to strip 3 off of it. And then of my Carnifex models, there was another wound lost from the tank treads of the Hellhound as it kind of pushed against it. So they are still going, and I'm really hoping during the shooting phase that they're going to be able to kill those Carnifex, because if this keeps going back and forth, I think the Carnifex can probably outpower that Hellhound. I'm going to go to the Cadian movement phase now for, this is still ambush / turn 5. So we're going to move around and see what we can do. Then I'll get into shooting, and hopefully some of these Tyranid are gonna die. So keep you posted. I'm going to roll off, and I'll be right back. Okay, so Cadian shooting phase is done. My Khazarkin were able to wipe out that little Hormigaunt squad that was left. So the Meltas came up big, and they were the ones that destroyed that. My 2 Melta cannons here, however, for my Hellhounds, they fired and they hit and everything, but the Carnifex made 2 6+ saves, which were all of the rounds that came down from that. The Heavy Flamer, however, that's attached to this Hellhound did strip another wound off. So this Carnifex here has 3 wounds remaining, and this one here still has its full 8. So it's going to flip back over to the Tyranid now, and we're going to get ready for some more hand-to-hand combat against those Hellhounds. I hope we can keep holding off, and maybe next turn for the Cadians I can move those Khazarkin up, get the special weapons on them as well, and then try to keep blasting with these Melta cannons. Hopefully get some good rolls, and maybe even my Heavy Stubbers can do some damage again. I also shot at them with my Heavy Plasma Cannon. It did not fire, and I tried a hazardous shot, but it's okay. And then this here, my Crack Grenade Launcher did hit, and it removed a wound as well from the Carnifex. So they're going to be all blasting at these things, and I'm hoping with this amount of firepower we can do it. But there is still the 6th ambush disc right outside the gate. We're so close, it's just right there to the Oodabooda Science Facility, and the scrap's going on right here. So I'm going to move. The Carnifex are going to get right into, I'll do it right now while we're live on camera. So there's 1, there's 2, move their wounds up with them, and now we are going to roll and see if the Carnifex take out one of these tanks. One of them is still at full 11 wounds, the other is down to 8. So I'm hoping they can keep holding off. The toughness on the tank is still pretty good, so the Carnifex is having to wound on 4s because of the toughness 9 on the tank, and then the strength 9 of the Scything Talons. So we'll see how it goes. It's looking okay. We'll see. And I'll come back as soon as those are done and let you know what happened. Ouch, so the Carnifex really gave it to one of my tanks that turn. I apologize, the toughness on the Hellhound is a 10, so these Carnifex have to roll 5s with their strength 9. This tank, my Hellhound, is down to 2 wounds, and this one still has the full 11, so I'm really hoping that it can hang on here. It's face-to-face with the Carnifex that has the 8 wounds remaining too, so this turn I'm going to be moving all of my Cadian, and we're going to put as much firepower onto these Carnifex as we possibly can from everything that's within range on the board. I'm going to roll right now for all of that, and I will show you guys what's left of the Carnifexes, or you know, maybe they'll come out unscathed. So we got to wait and see. Here goes the rolls, and good luck, Cadian. My remaining Cadian models put every single weapon they had against this Carnifex. It is still standing, but it is down to 4 wounds. My Hellhounds, really good at the beginning of the battle, have kind of fallen short here. They didn't deal any damage at all. The Ridge Hauler also did not. The Plasma Cannon, I tried to supercharge. It didn't wound, but it did shoot, so I had to do a hazardous save. Nothing exploded. I rolled a 2, so we're good. The cracks from this one again helped out, but my Khazarkin were the ones that really stood up here. So Sharkgar's Khazarkin took some wounds off with the Melta and Plasma, as did the Khazarkin Tigers up here with the Melta and the Crack Grenade. No one else was able to wound. I did do supercharges for all of my plasma weapons, and I rolled pretty well for one. It was a 6 off of the hazardous, so that was good, and then another one was super close with a 2. So with a hazardous weapon, so you guys know, if you roll a 1, you have to go through a whole bunch of steps to see if that weapon has actually exploded the model and done mortal wounds to it or other things around it. So if you roll a 1, it's not good. But to get the strength up on the plasma weapons, you kind of have to supercharge them, and it's hazardous to your models, but when you're facing something with a high toughness like a Carnifex, you might have to do it sometimes. So this thing is still alive. I'm moving back to the Tyranid move turn, and we know what's going to happen. It's going back into hand-to-hand combat. So there it is there with its 4 wounds. I really hope my Hellhound tank can survive. It has 2 wounds left. And then after this, if we can do the same damage to the Carnifex, I'm really hoping that it'll be taken off the board and we can move on to the final ambush wave, which is 6. See where it's coming on the board. If it's a hit, it's going to be coming up front again to block the path. If it's not, it's going to be in behind somewhere or possibly off to the side. So I'm going to move these guys to the gate, and that would mean that we do win because they make it to the facility. But if it comes out front, we're going to be facing another wave of Tyranid models, which is a Screamer Killer and some Raveners. So I'm going to roll this hand-to-hand off camera, and then I'll let you know how that all lands, and we'll see if this Carnifex gets wiped out or if my tank does. Okay, so that's another stalemate. The Carnifex did not roll well. It could not do any hits and no damage to the Hellhound. It's tough for it too because it's got a toughness 9 with those attacks, or strength 9 against a toughness 10 for the tank, so it needs to roll 5s to be able to actually penetrate the tank's hull. So it wasn't able to do that, which is great. My Hellhound tried to, crush it again with its tank treads, and the Carnifex just kind of like pushed it away, so they're both at stalemate. Now it's back to my Cadian, so we're going to be doing the quick move. I'm going to probably get some of these guys in closer range so I can use some of the special abilities of their weapons, like the Melt-A-Gun. And then I'm going to just pound this thing with all the weaponry that I have available to me. And I should be able to bring this squad that's been kind of falling behind right up in behind the truck to make sure if there is any last waves that come in from behind that they can at least hold them up to get through to the end of the game. So I'm going to roll off now for all of my Cadian shooting, and we'll see if that Carnifex is still there at the end of this turn. So wish them luck. Okay, huge relief there. So I didn't have to move to any of my other weapons. The 2 Hellhound tanks with their Melta-Cannons were able to get some really, really good rolls, both for the hit, for the wound, and the save couldn't be made by the Carnifex because it upped it to a 6+, which it failed. So all that damage went against the Carnifex and wiped it off the table. So my convoy is free now. I'm going to move them up to this 6 disc here. Then we're going to do all the roll-offs again to see, well, we know what the final wave is, so that's coming in, but I have to do the scatter dice to see where it's going to come in along the convoy road and what is going to happen, if it's going to be a Cadian reaction or if it's going to be a Tyranid ambush. Almost there. I was really worried my Cadian weren't going to make it. The battle's not over yet, but it's looking like we might get the victory here. So great turn of events, and everyone started to roll really well near the end of the game here. So let's move into the 6th and final wave and see what comes out and where it's going to come out. All right, so here we go.
Okay, back behind the Akaso camera to see where this final wave of Tyranid is going to come from. If it's a hit, it's going to be out in front of those 2 Hellhound tanks again. This final wave is comprised of a Screamer Killer and 3 Raveners, so still some very good models, tough to kill. And here we go. So if this is at the back of the Cadian line, we've pretty much won the battle because we're at the gateway. If it comes as a hit or out front, we're going to have to do another round of shooting, and I'm hoping there's enough models left to be able to thin out the Screamer Killer and the Raveners and take this one home, but let's see. Oh geez, so it's a hit. I'm going to be placing those models down on the board right in front of the convoy, and we are going to see what can happen here. They're literally just outside of the gate, like a few meters away, and there's going to be some Tyranid that are just popping out at the very end. You couldn't rate this. It's just great narrative battle play. So let's get that down, and I'll switch to my other camera. Okay, and I just rolled to see if this is going to be a Tyranid ambush or a Cadian reaction, and I got a 6. So as per the rules, 246 is Tyranid ambush, 135 is Cadian reaction. So the Tyranid are going to get the first move, and my Cadian are going to have to repel whatever they're going to do. So I'll show you where the models are right now, and then we'll get into the Tyranid movement phase for this final wave.
If you hear strange sloshing noises, it's just Homer just having some water. And it's the first time you can see him laughing at him. Hi, Hoju. Hi, buddy. It's Homer, but the kids can call him Hoju, so we call him Hoju. Good old Simpsons. Alright, so the Tyranid are on the board. This is the final wave. We have the Screamer Killer at 10 wounds, and we have 3 Raveners at 3 wounds apiece. The Cadian have moved up, so the same column is pretty much there, except the Sentinels have stepped up in front. So there's the 2 Hellhound tanks still. One is just smoking and skittering by with 2 wounds left. My Sentinels are behind it. My Kazarkin Sharkar Zone have moved up into the slot there to hopefully peel some wounds off. These guys might be out of range or not in line of sight, so I'm going to have to see with the Kazarkin Tigers. My Ridge Hauler might be able to take some shots there with those heavy stubbers. They've helped out a little bit here and there throughout the game. And then my straggling 2 units that are left are still at the rear. There's really nothing that's going to come out now, but they don't know that. So they're doing the cover of the 6 just in case, because they're not like us. They don't know what's happening in regards to the waves and this battle being almost over. So it's looking good, knock on wood. The Tyranid do have their ambush, so it's their move first. So I'll do that right now while we're on camera. So our buddy, the Screamer Killer, that looks like just a big like crab man, is going to take on the tank with the 2 wounds. So it looks like he's touching both, but he can only be in contact with one of them. So he's taking on the Hellhound with the 2 wounds. And these Raveners are going to pop up and start clawing away at the other Hellhound. So they're going to be back to back to back. There we go. So that's the movement. So the Tyranid are pretty much done. I'm going to be rolling as always, well not as always, but off camera for now to see the outcome. Really hoping these Hellhounds can survive and get some experience points, because they've been great all game. They're going to get some regardless because they do have some unit kills, but I don't want them to have battle scars. And there's been a lot of battle scars during this battle, so I'm going to have to see where I want to save and remove those. I also want to keep some requisition points to be able to buy new models, so that'll be all at the end of the video. I'll probably do that tomorrow actually, because it is getting pretty late and this is actually a super long video so far. So we'll see how this goes, and then the nice thing is, like, I'll have it done on this video so you guys will see how those Crusade points work from the very start of the battle, and then also how to upgrade your units. And then in future I'll just be able to show as the force upgrades. I won't have to explain everything. You guys will have an idea, and you can always refer back to the previous video and this one. So episode 5 and this one, that's going to be episode 6, to see kind of how that works. But we're going to get into hand-to-hand now, and let's see what these Tyranid do to these 2 Hellhounds. Okay, so that is the end of the Tyranid ambush. The Screamer Killer moved in and did away with my Hellhound tank. So just like that Lieutenant in the last battle against the Carnifexes, the Hellhound went down with 1 roll. So if it had made all of its rolls, it would have been okay. But the Screamer Killer's damage was too much with the 1 wound, and that removed the Hellhound from the battle. The Raveners were able to take 1 wound off of the Hellhound, and nothing happened to them. So the Hellhound tried to run them over, but they just kind of pushed it away again. So now it's on to my Cadian movement as well as the shooting. So I'm going to do that all in one go, roll off camera, come back, and show you what's happened with that. I'm really hoping we can take these guys out right during this turn, because that would mean that it's a Cadian win for my first Crusade. And I don't want to have any more battle scars, because that tank was doing so well, and now I'm going to have to consider using some requisition points to make sure that it's good to go for next battle. So I'm going to leave for a sec. I'll be right back, and I'll show you what the shooting phase has done, and also how my Cadian moved to get into position to shoot. Okay, so Cadian movement and shooting is done. My Melta Cannon and Heavy Flamer again didn't really do much to the Screamer Killer. Hasn't been going well for that tank for the end of the battle, but I'm hoping that'll change next turn if it's still here. My Sentinel with the crack grenade launcher was actually able to take some wounds off, so the Screamer Killer's at 7 wounds now. My Kazarkin lit up the Raveners, but they didn't do much. They did take a couple wounds off the back, but that was also... no, it was just them. And my heavy plasma cannon tried to go for the Screamer Killer, and it also didn't work. So actually the Kazarkin were pretty good that turn. They took some wounds off of the Ravener unit, and now it's back to the Tyranid move. So here we go. That is my Screamer Killer back in hand-to-hand with the tank. And my Kazarkin are now going into hand-to-hand with the Raveners. So I'm going to move them over and hopefully knock over too many plants. So 1, 2. This is what happens. They want to get closer to get some better like Melta shots going from the Melta gun in that unit. But then you open yourself up to hand-to-hand. So this Ravener unit has 2 models with full wounds, 3 each, and then 1 with 1 wound. So I'm going to roll now for the Tyranid in hand-to-hand, see what happens, and I might be losing another Kazarkin squad, which would suck because that's going to be another battle scar I'm going to have to worry about. So let's see how it goes. That is another Tyranid hand-to-hand combat phase done. It was pretty devastating. Nothing was done to the Screamer Killer. My Hellhound is down to 1 wound remaining. My Kazarkin, Sharkar's own, were all killed, and I have 1 wound left for my Castellan with his pug Homer. The Raveners were not affected either, so we're going to have to see where this leads. We're going back to the Cadian movement now, and we're going to have to get all these shots onto the targets. I might actually move these guys up to give support now, because they're being told from the front that they're in a lot of trouble, so we're going to see how that goes. And yep, I'll film what happens after that with the shooting phase. Really hope that the Cadian can get some great rolls and take out the Screamer Killer and the Raveners. The Screamer Killer has 9 wounds left, but that Melta Cannon, as long as it's in the fight, it might be able to take him out. There's not too many weapons on the table anymore that can penetrate that. So maybe the heavy plasma, but it hasn't been shooting very well. And we'll see what these other Kazarkin can do. Move up maybe with the Castellan, get that take aim order, and then maybe I'll move the Commissar back to help out with the other unit that's back here. So we'll see how it goes. All right. We're almost there. This last wave from the Tyranid was like almost planned. I can't believe it, but every single weapon that was firing at the Screamer Killer either misfired, didn't wound, or it saved against it. So it still has 6 wounds. The Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler Heavy Stubber crew was actually able to take out one of the Raveners, and another was taken out by the Kazarkin led by the Castellan, the Kazarkin Tigers, which is my only Kazarkin squad left. There's still 1 Ravener though with 2 wounds, so I'm going to be doing the Tyranid move on camera right now. Again, this might be the end of my other Hellhound. The Screamer Killer is in hand-to-hand against it, and this Ravener has jumped into hand-to-hand with my Kazarkin squad. So I'm going to roll off to see how the hand-to-hand combat goes, and then we're just going to keep going back and forth until one of the 2 forces is gone. I think I have enough allied models left to win this, but the Tyranid are putting up one hell of a fight, and I'm not rolling well at the end of the battle. So we'll see how this hand-to-hand goes, and we'll see how many Cadian models are left at the end of this. Oof, this is turning into a long battle report. So I'm going to have everything as it is. Like, it might be a long one to watch, but it's been super entertaining. My Cadian Castellan was able to finish off the Ravener after the Kazarkin plucked some wounds off of it in hand-to-hand. The Ravener was not able to fight back because it died, so that was great. My Screamer Killer did destroy my Hellhound tank, however. So those 2 Hellhounds, they were doing really well. I was hoping they were going to get a lot of experience. But against this Screamer Killer, it was just too much, and it shredded the tank. With my Hellhound gone, the only 2 models that I really have remaining that can take care of it are my 2 Sentinels, and my Kazarkin might be able to fire a few shots at it with the Melta and the Plasma, but any of the other weapons they have, it will be luck if they wound it. So I'm going to go to my Cadian movement now, and then I'm going to be doing Cadian shooting, and I'll start the camera back up then. and I'm really hoping when I turn the camera back on that this thing won't exist anymore, but it's been holding off them getting to this gate for the last little while. So it is the last Tyranid model on the board. It's fitting because it's one of their best, and this thing, amazing strength, amazing toughness, and it's shredded 2 tanks. So we're going to see if these Cadian can pull it off. I'm not as optimistic as I was because this thing is not going down easily. I just hope I get some really good rolls and we can clear this thing off the board and finish with a win. So here we go. I'm going to do my movement for my Cadian, my shooting off camera, and then I'll come back and we'll see if this thing is still here. Okay, so not a great shooting phase for my Cadian. They let rip with everything they have left. I had my Cadian shooting, my 2 guys at the back there that were with the Preacher this whole time, the Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler, both my Sentinels. They were able to knock a couple wounds off. It's now down to 4. The crack did some damage. I was really stoked because my Cadian Melt-A-Gun was able to shoot and wound, and then on the D6 roll I was hoping for 6 to wipe this thing out. He rolls a 1, so it took 1 wound off. So the Screamer Killer is back at it. He is going into hand-to-hand combat with the Sentinel with the plasma cannon, and I'm going to roll that off camera, and we're going to see if the Screamer Killer remains or if it takes that Sentinel out. So I'll be right back. Okay, hand-to-hand's done for the Screamer Killer, and it wiped out that Sentinel with the plasma cannon. I'm getting super worried now because that was one of the stronger weapons that was still on the board. It hadn't done great all game, but there's not much now that has a strength that can penetrate that Screamer Killer. So we're so close to the gate, like it's literally right here to get to that science facility. The Screamer Killer's still here with 4 wounds, and I have hardly any weapons left that can take it on. So the Cadian are going to do their move right now, and then we are going to do the shooting phase, and I'm hoping by some chance that they can wipe it out this turn. If this thing gets back into hand-to-hand combat, it's going towards that Sentinel, which is another weapon, the grenade launcher with the crack grenades that can take it out, or the missiles. But it's going to come right down to the wire again, and it's been one hell of a battle report so far, so let's see how this thing ends. Just before I start shooting, I wanted to see how the movement phase went here and show you guys. So my Sentinel here with its 4 wounds left has moved right up to fire some crack missiles right into the Screamer Killer's head. The Cadian have moved up to make sure that everyone has firing lines. My other squad of Cadian, oh no, that's my unit from way back that was decimated at the beginning. They have 3 guys left with the Commissar now. They're also in firing range. My other remaining section is up here with the Preacher, and then the Ridge Hauler has moved back a bit, and it's going to be firing all of those heavy stubbers into the Screamer Killer. So they're just going to shoot with everything they have here and hopefully take this down. I'm going to roll off camera, come back, and I really hope this thing is gone when I do, because that means my Cadian will have won. So let's see how it goes. This thing just won't die. So I had all of my Cadian take shots at it. It's down to 2 wounds. That came from crack missiles from the missile launcher. I had flamers. I had other grenade launchers. I had meltas. I had plasmas. A lot of them didn't shoot. Some didn't wound. My Ridge Hauler tried as well. Nothing came from that. It was wounded by a plasma and a crack, so it's down to 2 wounds now, and right away, back into hand-to-hand. We saw what it did to the last Sentinel, so I'm going to roll that off camera, and hopefully the Sentinel is still around, because it's one of the only weapons left on the board that can actually take this thing out, so fingers crossed. A little bit of luck from my Cadian there, so the Screamer Killer could not wound the Sentinel. I rolled 3 6-roll saves, which is great because this thing's got some pretty good armor penetration. It's got usually a 2+ save for the Sentinel. It was bumped up to 4+, and I rolled the 3 6s, so it's still good. I was really hoping that Sentinel Chainsaw would be able to maybe take out at least maybe 1 wound from the Screamer Killer, but that didn't happen. So these 2 got into a clash, pushed each other off, and now it's back to my Cadian. So I'm going to be moving, shooting off camera, and then I will show you the outcome of that, and hopefully the aftermath will be that Screamer Killer is no longer here, but it just survived 1 whole wave of attacks, and it might do the same again. So good luck with the rolls for my Cadian, and hopefully we can take this thing out. Another onslaught of Cadian firing, and nothing penetrated the Screamer Killer, so it is still there with 2 wounds. I was missing shots, they were bouncing off of it. Every single model fired, all are in range, and nothing came from it. So again, the Screamer Killer is going to hand with the Sentinel. I'm hoping that somehow it's going to survive this and maybe give it a couple of hits, and maybe one will go through, or maybe 2, and I'll get super lucky. So I'm going to roll that off camera and let's see what happens. Wow, so my Sentinel is just hanging on. It has 1 wound left. It tried to attack. I almost got 1 wound off of this guy. I rolled a 4 as a save. The dice almost flipped to a 2, but I kept going and rolled a 4. So the Screamer Killer is still going. I'm going to be doing another shooting phase with my Cadian to see if they can finally take it out. And I think I'm probably going to do my Crusade point unit stuff in another video, because this is going to be a super long battle report to render and get out there. So I'll make that into a second video, I think. But we're going to see how this battle ends. Tons of battle scars no matter what, if we win or not. But if these guys can make it through, then they get some experience and they've survived. And hopefully I can soup them up for the next battle. So we'll get to the shooting phase right now. I'll do that off camera, and hopefully I'm going to come back and say that the Screamer Killer is no more. Holy crap, we did it. So I'm just bringing you guys back through that roadway that they fought along. Tyranid coming out from all over the place, tons of different waves, models that were way stronger than them, but here they are, my Cadian 555th Charlie Company. A little bit of a victory shot for them. So it was my Sentinel with the crack missiles that finally took out that the Screamer Killer. I got some great rolls. So as it was supposed to be, this bioform is being transported into the science facility on Oodabooda Planet for that previous battle report that I did where the Crimson Fists dropped down. So from my entire company, what's left is a little piece of that section with the Preacher, another piece of another section with the Commissar. I don't know if you're allowed to switch in the middle of battle what unit they're attached to, but I said, what the hell. The Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler came back in with full wounds. The Cadian protected it very, very well. My Sentinel with the missile launcher is still going with 1 wound left, so it just made it. And then my Khazarkan Tigers are there with the Castellan and Homer the Pug. And he also only had 1 wound at the end, so it was a super close battle. There they are, right outside the gates of the Oodabooda Science Facility, and they have won the day. My first Crusade battle goes to my Cadian, so that is a Cadian victory. And in my next video, I'm going to add up all the Crusade points, do the experience, because that's going to take a little bit, but it's a lot of fun, and you can kind of see how this unit will level up after this battle, but also how many battle scars have been issued to this company as well, because I lost a lot of guys. So that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to edit this all up and cut it up, and we'll do the after report tomorrow, and then I'll upload that as another video. So thanks again. There's a little shot of the battle. Finnigan 40K. It was a fun one, and I don't know when I'm going to do my next battle. We'll see, maybe a couple weeks, next month maybe. We'll see what's going on, but I had to get this one off just to see how my Cadian were doing. And there they are one more time, the winning unit, or the winning my winning Cadian. Alright, so bye bye for now.